today, yo. Spend all Lakers game day Wednesday with us. Keep checking back. Plus, coming up at 10:45, around 10:45, the celebrity edition of Ask Slee today with producer Emily. Ask Emily. That's ahead. Let's get to it. Travis and Sliwa, your Lakers game day Wednesday right now.
Yeah. I thought that maybe, Al, that when you got in here that you might be remote. I know that yesterday you were toying around with the idea of maybe trying to make a quick trip to San Francisco to see a potential closeout.
Yeah.
Obviously didn't
Did not
happen.
happen.
You're here in person. Did you just give it up? You just decide it's not going to go down?
Too many moving parts to make it happen. So I think we'll be more prepared, unfortunately, next season to have kind of like a couple road trips involved, get a couple of the partners involved, that whole thing.
I think you should have
Just
to pay
a
for
little.
it.
I get it. I
think
completely understand.
It should come out of your end,
100%.
your pocket.
Yep.
You should have to pay for a chartered flight out of
Yes.
your end, a Ritz-Carlton suite out of your end,
Yep.
floor seats out of your end. I think that's how it should go.
When I heard John in game 1 up there, he was on the Comrex, right?
Yeah.
And it was crystal clear. I'm like,
Got to plug in, Slee.
I'm like, wait a minute here. Maybe there's a little bit of a chance. A lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
It's okay. They're going to close down Game 6. I don't think they're going to close down Game 5.
Yeah, it's funny. I think I was thinking about it, and I don't know why, and we'll spend a lot of time on this today because it is a Laker game day. It's you get going at 5:30. I think that the 3-1, they're in a great spot. 3-2, they're in a great spot. 3-2 coming home, you're in a great spot. But I feel like this is an oddly important game for them. And I think they're going to win tonight. I just think that I thought about a couple of things that you said yesterday. Specifically, can anybody not named Steph Curry show up 3 games in a row? It doesn't really feel like that's a great bet if you're a Warriors fan. But it also feels like it's not a zero possibility either. It feels like they should probably just take care of it tonight. Get as much rest as you possibly can. It depends on what the Suns and the Nuggets do in their Game 6 along the way. But this feels like an oddly important game for a team that's up 3-1 with Game 6 waiting for them at home if, in fact, they need it.
So I think if you're looking at it, let's look at it from a Warriors perspective for a quick second. Just kind of, we'll flip it for a second. When the Lakers had Memphis in Game 5, out in Memphis last round.
Yeah.
Memphis blew them out. Now, Lakers came back and they handled business, but I think there was always this underlying of, it's the Memphis Grizzlies. Does Memphis have something on their resume that says, guys, watch out for us? Look what we've done these last couple of years.
Absolutely not.
They're actually the complete opposite of that from a maturity perspective and everything else. I get what you're saying about the Warriors. You know what you don't want to happen tonight is... And I still think the foundation for me is I just believe the Lakers are a better team.
I agree with you.
And the fact that they get stops and they play defense, that stuff's not going to go away. What I think the one thing that I'd worry about with the Warriors is this, is Clay has a good night, Wiggins has a good night, they feel good. There's a little bit of there's been no point so far this series where I think they've had a little bit of momentum. They were down 1-0. Yeah, they were down 1-0 before you knew it. They're down 3-1. I still think Lakers would be okay even if they lost tonight.
I do too.
I get what you're saying. I get the idea and the concept, especially because it is the Warriors. You just don't want to give them a little bit of life. But I go back to this, and I'll say it again. I just feel like they're a better team.
Yeah. Well, look, they're the better team, and I think what we were talking with DeAndre a few minutes ago, even though we still have beef because he took that bad picture of me. What the Lakers do is incredibly replicable, repeatable, right? Get to the foul line, attack the basket, play good defense. That doesn't come and go, really, right? 3-point shots come and go. Depending on role players, kind of comes and goes. But get to the foul line, attack the basket, play good defense. It's super sustainable.
Yeah.
It's probably the most sustainable situation of the teams that are left, maybe with the exception of Jokic just being unguardable. That's a pretty sustainable. Just give it to him, let him make his decisions, and that's why I think that is a potentially awesome matchup for the Lakers and for the Nuggets, but we'll get to that in a sec. They just feel like it's very repeatable, but come back to what the Warriors were talking about, or what the Warriors need. They're going to fire every last bullet that they have tonight. They have to, right? It is literally a must-win game for them. But if they do win, and now you're going in, hey, guys, we just got to do it one more time.
One time.
We just have to find one more effort like this in us. You're going to get probably a better effort from the Lakers if, in fact, it goes that way.
Yeah.
But now if they can find one more time, there's a lot of ifs in this. Now it's one game. Anything can happen. I don't care if it's a good team, a bad team, or anywhere in between. Anything can happen. Just end this. Just end it tonight, and I don't think that they're going to be thinking about minutes. I don't think they're going to be thinking about anything other than let's just go out there, try to find a way to make Steph work for everything he gets, and just assume that everyone else on that team is going to continue to play the way that they have, which is somewhere between bad to just okay.
Yeah.
Lakers, like you've been saying, the Lakers are better. If the Lakers play well, I think they win.
Warriors, when they came back, remember they came back down 3-1 against Oklahoma City Thunder years ago.
Clay went bananas.
Clay had his Game 6 Clay, I think 11 threes. It really was one of the more remarkable performances in playoff history. Okay, so Clay had his game. 2 of the final 3 games they had were in the Bay, were in Golden State. Mm-hmm. So that's when they came back. What made the Cavs come back against the Warriors even more remarkable, down 3-1, 2 of the 3 were in Golden State.
On the road.
On the road, right? At the time in Oakland or whatever the case. It was on the road. So the Warriors are looking at it exactly like you just said. And by the way, I don't even think they give a rat's you-know-what about Game 6. They just got to win one.
They got to win tonight.
Just win one, and then all of a sudden the pressure goes a little bit on this side. If there's one thing that I think the Lakers have put themselves in a really good position on so far this postseason, haven't really played with that much pressure. Right out the gate, they're up 1-0 against Memphis. Right out the gate, they're up 1-0 against the Golden State Warriors. They've held serve at home. They have not. They've yet to lose a game at home. So when I say they haven't really had any, tonight's not a pressure-packed game on the Lakers.
It's not.
Game 5 in Memphis wasn't a pressure-packed game.
Nope.
You could say Game 6 had some pressure on it, but you still had 2 chances to win a game. So
it's the right kind of pressure.
It's the right kind of pressure. So there hasn't really been that. Now, if the series goes on, and now all of a sudden it's real pressure, and it's some of those other players. I'll give you an example. D'Angelo in Game 6 against the Grizzlies. He had 30, 31, whatever he had. Mm-hmm. He didn't really feel like he was feeling pressure. What are all these guys if it does get to a Game 7? And that's a long way to go, but I see what you're saying of, you just prolong this a little bit. What does it look like?
The sooner you end it, the better. It's for everybody. A, obviously you win the series, but B, you buy yourself a little bit of time. You buy yourself a little bit of rest, which we know how important it is for the Lakers, for LeBron in particular, for AD to a certain point. Just end it. Don't. I like the idea of an escape hatch in Game 6 and a potential Game 7. But let's not use it. Let's just go out there.
You don't want to go back to Chase for Game 7.
You do. Yeah. I don't even want it coming back here on Friday night. If, in fact, that's what it is, I would pick the Lakers to win right now. The Lakers could lose by 40 tonight. I would pick the Lakers to win.
What about what you got over at Crypto? Didn't you had a bottle service at Hyde for Friday night?
Is that what that thing's
called?
So
what happens to because you already put your deposit down.
You know what's weird about Hyde? I've wandered by. I don't even know how I get there. I just have wandered by. I'm in Staples Center or Crypto. It's like, how did I even wind up on this level? I don't even know how to find that place.
Somebody has to tap you on the shoulder 3 times. You go into a secret elevator.
It's what it feels like.
Yep.
I've been looking for the 710 suite, right? I'm walking around. I'm like, wait, this is how you get. I don't even know how to get there. You just kind of show up in front of that place.
They're just blindfolding you, walking over there, and you're like, I smell the pretzels.
I've never been allowed inside.
We're taking you to Hyde.
Have you ever been in there?
I've never been to Hyde.
Yeah, no, neither have I. We should go. You should use your connections.
Friday. That's what I was saying. Friday.
You should use. You're the Laker person.
Your bottle service.
Twist some arms. Get this. Yeah. Get that thing opened up for us. Let's go in there and
have
a
drink in between quarters.
Yeah, why not? Just one. I'll do. You have one. I'll have the rest, and I'll have a good time, and I'll keep your seat warm.
Okay, Friday night.
Sure. If you get it set up, I'll come. Absolutely.
All right, I'll see if I can figure that out.
Yeah, you get on that.
By the way, I literally would be there for 18 seconds,
Fine.
And you would just be at a table by yourself.
I want the whole table, and I get to decide who sits at the table.
Got the NHL game on.
Perfect. Look, we got to have
Dodgers over here.
Dodgers are on in 30 minutes, as a matter of fact. Okay. Little day game for the Dodgers along the way. We got Ask Emily coming up. Emily can stop responding to the Ask Emily's on Twitter. We need to save it for the segment.
I just have the one because I refuted his ask.
Here's the thing. She's
already fighting
Twitter,
with the people that are asking.
She's been on a Twitter tear. I mean, you saw last game, right? Game 4.
I didn't say I heard about it.
I haven't seen more tweets in a span of one game. I thought she was basically like McMenamin reporting.
Did you have an alert for me, Ellen? Is
She
that
was
why?
every time I opened up
It's a
Twitter.
lot. It's a lot. She's already getting very, very aggressive with the people on Twitter. So we'll see.
No, that's actually good. No, keep it aggressive.
It was aggressive. It was they were asking about why she's aggressive, and she responded aggressively. So we're off to a good / bad start. I don't know, but Ask Emily's coming up at 10:45, so make sure you're here for that. Plus, we're giving away another chance, Slee, to win the ultimate summer getaway to Surf and Sand Resort in Laguna Beach. When we give you the heads up, you're going to want to be the correct caller, and when you are, you will win a $50 gift card to Splash's Bar, and you also qualify for the grand prize, which is a 2-night stay at Surf and Sand Resort, a couple's spa treatment, dinner for two, additional beach activities, and relax, unwind, and rejuvenate oceanside at Surf and Sand Resort. Peace of mind. Let me tell you about the Splashes Bar very quickly, Slee. It's in the back of the hotel, right?
Okay.
The front of the hotel is on PCH. Mm-hmm. The back of the hotel is where, and you kind of go down below. The bar literally sits on the sand on Laguna Beach. That they open up these giant shutters, and the ocean, not just the ocean breeze, the ocean mist comes into the spot. You can go have a couple of drinks down there. Get $50 on us.
All right, I'll take you to Hyde. You take me.
It's a good spot.
You take me there.
I'm just saying, it's not a bad spot, and you're within walking distance of a lot of other fun spots down there in Laguna Beach. So make sure that you're listening for that. Watching the Celtics game last night reminded me of something about the Lakers that they don't get nearly enough credit for. That's coming up next. It's Trav and Slee, 710. Yeah. Kershaw trying to get right tonight, or this afternoon, this morning, I guess, on our time for the Dodgers, coming up 10:45, Slee. So he got bombed out by, not even bombed out by the Pods. He walked the world against the Pods, which
they should have scored a lot more. They didn't. But you're right. I think he had more walks in that game against the Padres he had all season.
I don't want to do baseball right now, but can I just tell you something that Bergman and I were talking a little bit this morning?
Yeah.
I'm not there yet. I will certainly take him on my team if anybody's interested in sending him along. Kind of sort of intrigued by why Juan Soto can't hit all of a sudden. It's weird. This is a guy that was on the list of maybe someday could mess around and hit 350 or better, and it's like he's just hanging around at 240. It's kind of interesting.
So yesterday was, I think since 2021, he had his first four-hit game.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, it's one walk and 1 for 4 if you're lucky.
It's a weird deal.
And it's not, and
all of this comes back to Ohtani, by the way. The reason I was thinking about this has to do with Ohtani, who passed and set another Babe Ruth record, or broke another Babe Ruth record last night.
Yeah.
I see things through, how does this affect the Dodgers, and how does this affect Shohei Ohtani being on the Dodgers? Something could happen in the Twins game. I'm like, that's going to mean Ohtani's going to be a Dodger. The Royals could go 0 for 5 with runners and scoring. That means Ohtani's going to be a Dodger. It's the only way I can see the world right now. I'm a little tunnel vision.
It's a good way to look at it.
It's a
good
weird
way to
deal.
look at it.
It is a weird deal. So, Lakers tonight got a chance to close this thing out. I was watching the you and I were talking a little bit. The Sixers blew out the Celtics last night in Boston. They've got a 3-2 series advantage.
That's 2 games they've won in Boston.
Two games they won in Boston.
Boston fans booed them as well.
They booed them, and that's what's interesting. And they booed mostly, I think, because the Celtics just laid an egg, right? It looked like they were completely disengaged, that they were disinterested, that they didn't really compete in any meaningful way. Made me think of the Lakers. The Lakers have had bad games. The Lakers have had some rocky moments at the end of games over the course of the season. But you know what the Lakers have really not done all season long is roll. Even when they've been bad and had a bad night, the Lakers compete. The Lakers don't stop playing, and I think that's a very direct reflection of their head coach. He's a tough guy, but he's calm. He's not a yeller and a screamer. He's not doing all these crazy things.
Great motivator.
He's a great motivator that he said he's going to come in and we're going to play hard and we're going to be a good defensive team. Now, it took 4 months to get there, but he's right. They play hard. They're a great defensive team. Coming into this series, coming into the postseason, we talk so much about, well, Steve Kerr is experienced in this, and then this is the first time for Darvin Ham in the end of the games. They've kind of been sloppy. And he's aced his postseason exam to this point. Granted, we're only about halfway through this thing, but I don't think you could have asked too much more for a rookie head coach with a veteran-laden team the way that they are, that he gets them to play as hard as they do, as consistently as they do on both ends of the court.
So I know this was one of the, and it's fair, one of the question marks coming into the postseason was, all right, how's your head coach going to do in this situation? He's never been the head coach coming into a playoff series. That's it. It's him. There is no, I'm an assistant. Everything's going to run through Darvin Ham. Okay, gets through it with Memphis. Yeah. He got through. It's Taylor
Memphis.
Jenkins. It's Memphis. It's
Dylan Brooks.
They're a good team, but they're also incredibly young, incredibly immature. And then it was, well, Steve Kerr is going to run circles around Darvin Ham. It really was. I read a lot of articles about that. We've had conversations saying that there's going to be an adjustment. What does he do to the adjustment?
It's not an unreasonable position to take.
Not unreasonable. There was an article yesterday in, I can't remember, it was The Athletic. One of those articles that was specifically, this is a Warriors vantage point. You know what the headline was? How Steve Kerr is getting out-coached. Or it was, in another sense, how Steve Kerr is not making the proper adjustments. And if you'd have told me you're 4 games in and there's an article that's talking about Steve Kerr on the other side of it. Listen, things happen. Guys miss shots. You could run the perfect play for a head coach, and a player misses a shot, or other players aren't coming through, or Clay is taking really bad shots, whatever it is, right? Things like that are going to happen. But I feel like there's something, and maybe this just has to do with the Lakers' talent, the way they're playing. LeBron is on the sideline with Darvin Ham, so there is, maybe Darvin Ham hasn't seen this. LeBron has. You know, you were talking about it, one of those final plays in Game 4. LeBron was already pointing out.
He knew where the shot was coming 5 seconds before the player was even in the right spot.
Would anybody else in the NBA know that?
Not many.
Probably just LeBron.
Yeah.
Maybe a player or two. But there has been a little bit of, I don't know if panic is the right word. You don't have 3 different starting lineups in 4 games unless you feel like, this didn't work. Let's try this.
I don't
Let's
have
try
the
that.
answer. I got to try something else.
I don't have an answer. You're not really letting anything bake or marinate or any of that stuff. The Lakers is, this is who we are. We're not changing who we are. You got to adjust to us. And I think that's been probably one of the more, and I think the Boston Celtics is a good example because the Celtics got to the NBA Finals last year. They have a coach who is a first-year head coach. And I'm not watching the Celtics series that closely, but I'm also shocked that they're down 3-2.
To Doc Rivers. I mean, let's say what it is. To a team that has a head coach that is the only person to have blown 3 different 3-1 leads. So there's something there for sure.
I think that, ultimately we'll see how that Celtics series ends up. But the fact that we're having a conversation today, Lakers are up 3-1, and there's a lot of fingers being pointed at the other coach that, hey, is he making the right moves? What if he did this? What if he did that? And it's not being it's not being pointed at the first-year head coach. That's impressive.
I think it is. I think the Kerr portion of it is there aren't moves to make. He doesn't have the hand that he usually does. Jordan Poole's just been bad. Mm-hmm. What is he supposed to do with that? The Kuminga is basically unplayable at this point. Gary Payton is not a great offensive player. There's really limits to what he can do. That's that. But I want to give Darvin a ton of credit, not just for understanding what needs to be done, not just for doing the things that he's done to get to this point, but he does a thing that I don't know if this is a new school thing and that he's a rookie head coach. Maybe he's more open to the idea of this, but you see it with a guy like Kerr. You see it with some of these older coaches that have been around a longer period of time. He doesn't go with, well, these are my guys. These are the guys that I rode with in this plan, and I'm going to trust my guys because I've been through 100 different battles with them, and I'm going to go down with my guys. Hey, D'Angelo, you're having a bad night tonight. Sit down, brother. We're going to go. Lonnie, you're in, right? We're going to do that. Hey, D'Angelo can't make a shot. All right, we're going to run this through Dennis Schroeder for the time being. He goes with the guys that have the hot hand. And I think that older coaches, veteran coaches are less reluctant to say, listen, I know Lonnie Walker's hot right now, but D'Angelo's a better player. We got to put – no. Ride the hot hand until he's not hot anymore.
Can I give you...
And he's so good at that, and he seems to know when the moment to stay with the guy, get off of a guy, and all of just that moment where I'm either going to pull my, air quotes, starter off the court and go with the hot hand, or I need to put my starter back in there because the hot hand isn't hot anymore. He's got that very... there's a knack to it that he seems to have that a lot of guys don't.
I'm going to give you an example, and... this has been kind of an interesting situation for the Golden State Warriors. Naturally, I understand where Steve Kerr's coming from. Klay Thompson's going to get a lot of minutes.
Sure.
That's his guy. He's sticking with Klay Thompson. But you know what you haven't seen? And it's a tough decision to make. We're talking about Klay Thompson. We're talking about a 4-time champion. But there's definitely some chatter up in the Bay saying, listen, if he's not hitting shots, you got to have guys that are giving you some results.
See if someone else will.
See if somebody will.
Yeah.
And the reason why I point that out is because it's different. You got LeBron. You're not taking LeBron or Anthony Davis out. And I'm not saying Klay is LeBron or Anthony Davis, but at one point Klay was that important to the Golden State Warriors. Now he can still go off for 30 in any given night, but isn't that kind of fascinating that even players, I got to go with Klay because that's my guy, rather than that ain't working, I got to try something different. There's a little bit of that you've kind of seen in the series as well.
He's calm, too.
Yeah.
There's just, and I get it, that they're going to edit this stuff in the games to make it look a certain way, one way or the other. But when TNT does, or ESPN, or whoever the game happens to be on.
First quarter interview or whatever?
No, I'm talking those in the huddle moments.
Oh, yeah.
And the NBA coaches, they all say the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. It's never about you need to guard him and we're going to run this play. It's always about effort and staying in it and defending. It's the same message from every NBA coach. 98 guys, don't let up. These guys are a good team. Energy.
They're all taking Pat Riley's from the 80s one. I would just read that script.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's about energy. It's about effort. It's about committing to the defensive end of the floor. But it's the tone of it all that I think is that varies from guy to guy. There's the tone of frantic energy, and I'm trying to get my guys going, and I'm radiating this incredible tension to my guys, whether it's on purpose or not. And then there's the very calm, very matter-of-fact, and Steve Kerr, who is a calmer coach, who's been all the things we've talked about, been around 100 times. His message is calm, but less calm than Darvin Ham's because they're behind, because they're chasing. And Ham's has just been very matter-of-fact. We need to lock down defensively. I love what he said about I don't know, because you're in the game sometimes doing your updates and whatnot. But he said, guys, they're really hard to beat. We've got to make sure that we do X, Y, Z. It wasn't panicky. It wasn't anything other than they're going to be hard to choke out. They're going to be a very hard team to finish off. And you could almost feel like, yep, okay, we got a fight on our hands. Let's go do it. Not panic, not nervous, just we have to be committed to what we're doing right, or else we're not going to win this game. But a sense of if we play our game, we've got it. I love the way he's leading the team. I love it.
Okay, question for you. How much of that, LeBron's not on this team. Put any other player in the league on this team that just doesn't have the experience that LeBron James does. How much do you think, and I don't want to take away credit from Darvin Ham, but how much do you think it helps having, I get to have this 20-year vet who's seen it all that can actually look at the players, and then we're going to get on the floor with them and say, relax, calm down, we're good. Hey, I need you to be more aggressive, this, that. How much do you think it makes Darvin Ham's job that much easier because LeBron exists? That LeBron is there with him.
I think it makes Darvin's job easier because LeBron buys into it. You know what I mean? The LeBron could choose not to participate in
then
it.
Then it folds.
Or do you get this weird fractious situation where am I listening to the coach? Am I taking the cue from the best player, the greatest player of all time? What do I do? Or he could just be very neutral in the whole thing, but LeBron buys into it. Look, Darvin could be the world's greatest leader in the world. He could be the greatest coach in the world. If LeBron's sitting there looking off into the stands looking at peanut vendors, then the message isn't going through. LeBron's going to set the tone, and thankfully because he's a good teammate, because he wants to win, because he believes in the message that's being preached, I think it works great, and Darvin's message is getting through. They play hard. They don't panic. They continue to compete, even both the games that they lost, the game where they were behind 11 in the second quarter, the most recent, these were games that felt like they were kind of in a weird spot, and the Lakers just kind of keep playing. They just keep playing, chip away. They don't do that where they start jacking up really bad shots. Just keep playing the way we do. I think that's a direct reflection of the head coach.
Want to throw something your way. We do it coming back, but the AD, Anthony Davis, and yesterday something happened in the other games that is potentially putting this map together. I know the Lakers got to get through the Golden State Warriors, but talk about the best big men in the NBA. We might have to go through the best big. AD might get the best big men in the NBA to go win an NBA championship. But that was fascinating from yesterday. We do that coming up next.
We'll do that coming up next. Plus, get your Ask Emily's in. That's about 15 minutes away from right now.
Just
you can
be careful
send them to me.
when you type soft.
Don't get aggressive. Ask or at Travis Rogers. You can send them to me. You can send them to Al as well. At Alan Sliwa. You can also call 877-710-ESPN. We'll take some of your Laker calls as well. What do you think is going to happen tonight, and how important is Game 5 up in San Francisco? It's all coming up. It's Travis and Slee, 710
710 ESPN.
Had a nice little bonus Lakers segment there during the break as well. You logged a lot of TNT time last night, didn't you?
I did.
I can tell.
So I got a chance. I'm kicking back. I was actually working a little bit on the pregame show, and TNT. It might be the only show that does this. It really, really might be the only show with Shaq. Obviously, EJ, Kenny, and Chuck. It's one of the only shows that I'm okay to watch this 18-point blowout with 2 minutes left to go because they're coming up next. A lot of shows, in sports, a lot of it is completely based on, is it a good game or not? I'm going to watch till the end. But I know those guys are coming up next. My girl watches it. She likes them. Like, she has no idea about anything going on, and she will watch because of them, which is just amazing, just in itself.
Are you guys going to watch his new show, Charles? I'm talking about. He's going to do
CNN,
a show
right?
with Gayle King on CNN, and it's not going to be a political show necessarily, but they're going to cover the topics of the day, which would include politics, which would include, like, they're talking about pop culture and food and all those sort of things.
I'll watch it this way.
One.
I'll watch it this way. It will get cut up into pieces, and you'll get a 6-minute clip here, an 8-minute clip here, a 3-minute clip here. And the topic, if it's interesting, I will watch it. Will I actually go and physically watch the whole thing? I don't think
It's a weird one because we were talking about the NFL, the saturation point, right? Like, I truly believe that we're going to get – look, they're playing in every country in the world. They're playing in every day of the week. That they're trying to figure out the point of where, all right, enough is enough. Let's just split football here. Is there a Charles Barkley component with that? Because you get him a lot, right? He's on talk shows. He does the late night circuit. He's on TNT a lot. He does CBS college basketball during the tournament. He's in every fourth commercial that's on TV is a Charles Barkley commercial. That we have. Everybody still loves him along the way. It'll be interesting to see how it goes if Charles Barkley is giving you his takes on guns and politics and religion and these kind of things. He has this TV diplomatic immunity that's allowed him to kind of walk through everything he wants to walk through for most of his life. But if he's doing it every day, it'll be interesting.
I think for Barkley, as long as he's exactly who he is, inside the NBA, as long as he's that Barkley, as long as he doesn't have to like change his personality, just be yourself. And I think for him, one of the things that makes him so great, he has such a matter of fact and like this is common sense. Whether that will come off on the politics side, I'm interested. I think it's the concept is interesting. We'll see if it does well.
This is what he said about the Warriors and the Lakers.
Well, they're cooked.
Cooked as in
Yeah, this series is
guaranteed.
over. Whether in 5 or 6, so 5 or 6, it's over.
I hate that. I agree that the Lakers are in a great spot, but whenever I hear Charles Barkley or Alan Sliwa say, "Oh, it's over. Bring on the Nuggets."
I'm a 1-for-1 right now.
I get very nervous. I get very, very nervous. It's not over. They're in a great spot. Let's not pretend that they're not, but it's not over, Charles and Sliwa.
Isn't technically the definition of what's the difference when I say to you, Trev, who's going to win the series? What would be your response?
I think the Lakers have a very good chance to win the series.
It's the same thing. You just added a couple words in the middle there.
Well, but there are very important few words in the middle of it because it's like, oh, you think so? Like if you say, oh, Lakers are going to win. Oh, really? They hear everything, Al.
Unless the gods add more size to the Golden State Warriors, I don't know how they're going to do it.
I'm just saying the Corgi has some points.
The Corgi and Charles is
the Corgi's the one that scares me the most out of anybody.
Charles is loud wrong a lot.
He is.
He's loud wrong a lot.
Well, he did pick the first round was Clippers.
Yeah, that did work.
But Kawhi was there. And who was the other? I think he picked Kings. I think he picked Kings over the Warriors.
They're 0 for 2.
Yeah, he's 0 for 2 right there.
Hopefully he doesn't go 0 for 3.
Something I noticed yesterday, okay? So the two games going on yesterday, you had Philly taking on the Boston Celtics. Remember, Boston was, I don't know what changed today, Boston was the number 1 odds in Vegas to win the whole thing. Lakers were number 2. Well, Boston's now down 3-2 in their series against Philly. Lakers are up 3-1 in their series.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how often they're changing these odds. I'm sure it's on a daily basis, but I wouldn't be surprised now if Lakers are the favorites to win the whole thing. But
they're tied with the Sixers, I believe, is the second best choice.
All right, two things that I think happened in the last 24 hours. we've been talking about Anthony Davis and how incredible he's been. He's had some games where you want more from him offensively, but you literally cannot say anything about what he's doing. He owns half of the court. He's owned half of the court against Memphis. He's owned half of the court against the Golden State Warriors. And then he's still going to give you what? He's averaging, I think, like 22 and whatever it is, right? Okay, put that to the side. We've been asking Anthony Davis to be part of the conversation with a couple different players in the league. How come he's not part of the conversation with Giannis? How come he's not part of the conversation with Embiid? How come he's not part of the conversation with Jokic? Why not? He's good enough. He should be a part of that conversation. At one point, he was back in 2020, and he's played his way out of that or has not played enough to be a part of that conversation, right? Just his availability. Yesterday, all defensive first and second team came out, and AD wasn't a part of it. My personal opinion, who cares? We're watching the best defensive player.
Giannis cares.
He does.
Yeah.
He does. That's right. He does care.
He's tired of the disrespect, Al.
We're watching the best defensive player every single night. You know what could happen over these next couple of weeks? You could have Joker in the second round, or I'm sorry, in the Western Conference Finals. You could have him in the next round. You can have who many believe is the best player in the world right now. You could potentially have Joel Embiid in the NBA Finals to go win an NBA championship, get to number 18. I know everything's still got to finish itself out, but that conversation that we have gone so far out of our way to talk about, why can't he be in that conversation? This postseason, the way the Lakers ended the season as well, remember, he missed 2 games since his injury, and I think they were both on the back-to-backs. Other than that, he's been there every single night.
Yep.
He's been there every single night. There's nothing you could really say about it. His performance, yes, he's had games where one day you look at him and say, this is the closest thing that we've seen to whoever. Another night you're saying, is this JaVale McGee out here? Right? Like there's been a little bit of that as well. AD is in a very interesting spot. I think everybody agrees that whether the baton was trying to get passed, not, everybody agrees that he's the best player on the Los Angeles Lakers every single night. He's the most important player every single night. He's the best player even with Steph Curry on the other side or Ja Morant on the other side. He might get the opportunity to go up against the big men that we've been talking about these last couple of years, and I just kind of find that story fascinating as it plays out.
Look, I'm going to try to put a fine point on this. It isn't just his availability that people talk about. It's his heart. It is. And when he plays well, he's exactly what you just described. He's one of the best players in the league, and he is in the class with Giannis, Jokic, and Embiid. But it has gone from, well, he's sometimes in the lineup, sometimes out of the lineup. Like, dude, what is your deal? Right? When people start asking about what is your deal? Do you want this? Are you about this or not? That's really hard to bounce back from. And that's the answer he has a chance to provide to basketball people, to the other basketball players in the league, to people that write about this league, to people that talk about the league like you and I. Because if he does go through Steph Curry, I was the better player on the floor than Steph Curry. I was a better player on the floor than Nikola Jokic. I was a better player on the floor with Joel Embiid. That doesn't happen just because you're a good player. You got to want it too. And I think there'd be an answer about his heart as much as it. No one's ever questioned his ability to play. It's been, is he playing? And if he is playing, why is he playing like that? We don't ask that question about Giannis and Jokic. We don't ask it about Embiid. At the beginning, maybe a little bit, but not for several years. He has a chance to kind of put that to rest, at least with the, does he have a heart? The can he play 65, 70 games? I don't know. The only way that's going to take care of itself is if he actually goes and does it. But if he goes through this stretch where they had to have him for the last, call it 8, 9, 10 weeks of the regular season, you had to have him in literally every round of the playoffs, and he goes through, toss Memphis aside because whatever, but you go through the defending champs, the 2-time MVP, the current MVP to win an NBA championship, the questions about his heart are gone. You can't, then it just becomes an availability question, but that's what he has on the table right there. It doesn't come around like that very often to where you can say, yes, the only reason why I'm not in that conversation or I'm not in it anymore is because my ankle got hurt or my shoulder, whatever it might be. It's not about what's inside my heart. It's about what my body's able to do. He could put that to rest once and for all. It would be nice to see, quite frankly.
Well, I look, for me, I don't know if I look at it specifically that way. I just want him In my eyes, he's been just so unbelievable this year. And the fact that he gets an opportunity to go through the best, to the names that we've been comparing him to or not comparing him enough to, right? By the time January 1st rolled around, I was not comparing Anthony Davis to any of these players that we're talking about.
No one was.
These playoffs, you cannot talk about these playoffs without mentioning AD in the same light as, Jimmy Butler, what he's doing in Miami is amazing. What Embiid is doing, what Joker's doing. There's a few teams out there that you look at, and there's individual players, and it's kind of interesting how I watched yesterday. You had two teams go up 3-2, and both of them include arguably the two best big men, minus Giannis, and here's Anthony Davis on the other side, obviously taking care of business as he has.
Can I answer a question about the long-term future of the Lakers, too, if he can go through that gauntlet? That's another question that's looming in the distance, that, hey, what happens after this year, whether they lose here, lose in the finals, lose in the Western Conference, what happens next? He can take care of all of that, too, with a run through another couple of rounds along the way. Ask Emily coming up next. Send them on Twitter, at Travis Rogers, at Alan Sliwa, and, of course, you can call as well, 877-710-3776. It's coming up next. It's Trav and Slee, 710.
Ask Emily is presented by our friends at Harrah's Resort SoCal. Find your funner state of mind with a visit to Harrah's Resort SoCal. Voted best resort in funner California. From dining to unwinding, you'll find fun around every corner. Learn more at harrahssocal.com. Let's do it. It is time for Ask Emily.
All right, Em. So this one comes on the heels of your very, if I may say so myself, very successful Succession, where you are assigning Laker players Succession characters along the way. Mailman Matt writes, if you had to assign ESPN LA personnel as the Office characters, who would everyone be? Now let's start in our room here. Let's start with Taylor. Who would Taylor be in an Office character?
Jim. I think he gives off Jim vibes. You know, Jim is kind of understated. He has his own jokes, his inside jokes. Also tall. And I think that it's just the cool guy energy without trying too hard to be the cool guy energy.
What about Al?
Al?
You got off nice, Taylor. You got a
Yeah,
nice,
he got the best one.
Al, I could see a little bit as, I see a little bit of like Oscar. It's not a bad thing. It's just like the idea of you know a lot about a lot of things. He's a well-traveled man. He likes the finer things in life, which I also think that you like the finer things in life.
If I'm not Toby or Daryl, I'm out.
But no, I see Oscar. You're not as much of a but well as he is, but like
actually,
that's what it is. Yes.
And me,
Travis, I could see. I'm trying
Creed.
not to
You're
give
in a
you
band.
like the biggest guy out there, like the Roy of the world, or like his temperament is like that.
Bad.
But I could see you more like a Daryl. I think you get along well with Jim. I think you get along well with Taylor. You got like talking sports and stuff. I think you're more competent, obviously, than Daryl is sometimes in his job. But I think
debatable.
Daryl, yes.
What about Chris?
Morales is Todd Packer, 100%, 100%. Not even a question about that.
That's great. Let's do one more. Let's do Mason. Who's Mason? Is he Michael Scott?
It's a good idea.
A little bit of that.
I think that he could be Michael Scott. I think he could be. I don't know. He's hard to nail down for me right now. Maybe like Robert California. I don't know. I don't have a clear vision of who he is.
All right, fair enough. Let's go to Jason Levine, who says, "Who's the biggest diva on the show?"
On this show?
Yeah, I don't think we have a diva.
We don't really have a diva. No, we don't. I think that
who has the most diva in them?
I think maybe you like to ask me to change the TV a lot of the times.
I do.
You know, things go around your schedule.
That's
you
true.
have your kid leaving. You got to go play watch him play baseball. You got to leave early. As much as any of us are divas,
bro.
which none of us are divas.
I'm okay with all of those. I'm all right with all of those. Beer pong. This is from James. Beer pong or a shotgun kind of girl?
Beer pong. I am not a shotgunner. I'm not good at. I would not beat you. Don't worry about that. But I'm my best game though is Flip Cup by far. I actually played it this weekend with my friends at a bar.
Tell me what that one is again.
That's the one where you have to drink a little bit, and then you flip it sits on the edge of the table, and you flip it with your finger, and then it lands on its face.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm good at Flip Cup. You get in a mode with Flip Cup.
We didn't really play Flip Cup. Beer pong was the
quarters. Anybody a quarters fan in here?
I don't play quarters. I think beer pong though. The only thing about beer pong is that
I was like fading away.
But you can only play with 4 people at a time. With Flip Cup, you can do like 8, 10 people at a time. It's a better party game than beer
people
pong
over.
is. So
Taylor, back in the day, you strike me as somebody who might have been good at quarters. Am I wrong?
Not so much. I play Submarine. You guys ever do that one?
No. What's that one?
So you take a glass and then you take like a regular sized glass, fill it up with beer. Then you take a shot glass and put like whiskey or whatever kind of, and you actually float it in there.
Okay.
So people have to pour until it sinks.
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, that's my favorite one.
It's a
Submarine
straw at the end.
And then you have to do the shot and the beer.
And whoever makes it sink has to drink the whole thing.
That could get messy quickly. I feel like that could get away from you after a round or two. Plus, you could just drink it on your own pace. That's another way to do it. Cap from Whittier. What does Emily's perfect weekend look like? # Ask Emily.
Can we guess?
I would take it from Kevin Malone and say 14 hours of TV. But anyway, what is
I'm gonna say Emily is at some point watching a movie. Okay, so she's going to the movie theater. She's finding a movie that she likes, and it's she's got to get some TV in her, so that's kind of the movie theater vibe. She's going to get that. At some point, she's going to be at a bar with her friends. Maybe not trivia because it's weekend. I feel like trivia is weekdays.
I believe it's Wednesday night.
Yeah,
yes.
that's like a week.
It is Wednesday.
It's a weekday thing. You don't do that on weekends. You do it on weekdays.
Yeah, it feels like a Wednesday activity.
She's hanging out with her friends, and she's definitely at a bar. And the night just kind of goes. There is no when it's going to end. I don't know. We're just going to go with the flow with it here. At the end of the night, there might be some pizza involved.
I was going to say there has to be a pizza
involved
on the floor at some point in this weekend.
And what I just described was 8% of her weekend, and then she probably fills in
How'd he do?
a lot of other good stuff.
I think that's Saturday. Yeah.
That was Saturday?
That's Saturday. Half of
Still
Saturday.
got a day and a half to occupy.
I like, as a Saturday, wake up, do some exercise, whether it be go on a walk, go to my spin place, or go on a bike ride by the beach, depending on the weather. I like to go catch a matinee as opposed to an evening thing. I like a matinee movie theater experience. And then, either have some friends over and watch something at my house or go to a bar and see people. But I like also on a weekend to cook one good meal, whether it be a big one for the whole week or one good meal that day, and usually make something and stuff like that. So it's usually pretty chill, but
There's a
pretty
sleep
packed.
in there at some point too, right?
I'm not a big sleeping in person. I mean,
All
the latest I sleep in usually is like 9 or 10.
That's a sleep in.
It's sleep in for you guys,
No,
but it's not
10,
a sleep
10
in
o'clock
for.
is
That's a sleep in.
9
I
o'clock
actually
is sleep
haven't
in, right?
slept until 10
You
p.m.
just said.
or 10 a.m. in a while though. I mean,
Nine.
9, I don't think is sleeping.
It's the outer edge of normal, right? Is that fair?
Yeah.
9 is the outer.
Put it
edge
this
of
way.
normal?
Put it this way.
Okay.
If it's like 9:11 or 9:07,
Yeah.
it's a sleep-in.
Yeah.
If it's 8:57,
You're
it's
getting
not
up
a
like an
sleep-in.
adult.
Well, what if you
Yeah.
went to bed at 3?
Well, that's my whole point. That's why it's the sleep in, right? Because you have the late night. I'm not saying it's additional hours. It's you're burning the candle at a different time.
Yeah, maybe. Also, throw in a concert there. Sometimes it's nice too. Live music.
Drew writes, uncontrollable hiccups or sneezing for a year. Those are both sound terrible.
How long do I have the hiccups for?
I would assume they're both for a year. You either get sneezing
Just
or
1
hiccups
year.
for a year.
It's just 1 year of your life.
I think
there's a right answer.
I think
here.
hiccups is better because it doesn't affect the people around me nearly as much. I can maybe hide it a little bit. So I'll take hiccups over sneezing.
I think you'd probably have, not you, but the person that has this thing, hiccups would make you go insane after a couple
Yeah.
of days. But there's a sympathy that goes along with hiccups. Like if you had hiccups, like, man, that sucks because nobody
Yeah.
really knows how to get rid of them. With sneezing, you feel like you're just spreading diseases all over
I
the
feel like
place.
I already sneeze all the time, so I feel like I'm a veteran there. I would take the sneezing and just have paper towels attached to my belt.
I also sneeze really loudly, and I don't think that'd be great either.
All right, Moy, one more here, Emily. Since you are a fan of the Twilight franchise, if a vampire bites a zombie, would the vampire turn into a zombie or would the zombie turn into a vampire?
I think so. Vampires biting zombie.
Yes.
I think zombie turns into a vampire zombie. So,
So it's
zombie goes vampire.
Zombie goes. Does that make sense? I'm confused.
So
the
so,
question.
I mean, the
confused
question
me.
is, if the vampire bites the zombie,
Yes.
does the vampire then become a zombie,
Right.
or does the zombie become a vampire?
Right.
I think
Vampire.
the zombie becomes a vampire.
Whoever does the biting,
they
they
convert
take
to
over.
that. Yeah, exactly.
that works for me. One more. I decided I found another one I like. This is from Chrissy. You can put yourself in any TV show. What would it be and what character would you want to be? For an example, Emily in Succession could be Logan's estranged daughter who just found out he was her dad and now she wants her share.
I mean, I would love to be Connor Roy. I don't have to do anything with my life, and I have billions and billions of dollars, and I can just go do it with whatever whim comes to my mind, whether it be my partner's play or running for president. I think Connor Roy is a great spot. I also like
You know why Connor Roy's a great one, too?
What?
I don't think he knows he's an idiot.
And he has no pressure. No
Right.
one believes in him to be good.
Okay, can I just say this? I gave this some real thought last night. I think I might start Succession. I'm so far out and I'm so far behind. But if it's that good and everybody here has watched it, there's got to be a reason for it.
It is good. It is good. It's less good right now, but just understand that Connor Roy has the perfect amount of lack of self-awareness. Like
Yes.
you are capable of doing what you want to do,
Yeah.
but you don't realize that you're not very good at it. and you could just kind of go through the rest of your, and there are no financial repercussions. Imagine how great that would be.
And nobody believes that you have to do anything.
And no one ever tells you the truth either. It's like, yep, that sounds great. Go ahead and knock yourself out over there.
So he thinks he's the greatest at everything that he does.
Yes.
And there's no repercussions.
And everyone else
really.
around him goes, this guy over here is the biggest dummy I've ever seen in my life.
But the
It's
door's
terrific.
closed when they say it.
Yeah, but who cares? He just lives his life.
Yeah.
They want those 3% and 4% from Alaska.
There are decimals.
I need to ask my Woman about Oman.
That was terrible. That was such a bad line. All right, Slee, let's talk a little bit about the Dodgers when we get back here. Let's talk about what is going on with that bullpen, because I think I flip-flopped. You asked me before, top concern?
Yeah.
I got a new one. That's coming up next. It's Travis Slee, 710 ESPN.
Brand's radio station.
It is the show that begins 9 hours of LA sports talk all day long. Each weekday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. This is Travis and Sliwa on 710 ESPN.
This may take you a long time to answer, so I wanted to save it for the top when you have a little bit more real estate to get through this. This is from Animal Fries in the Travis Lee community. It says, hashtag Ask Emily, what is your longest running feud? You strike me as somebody that has feuds.
I'm thinking.
18 years.
I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think of. Okay, no, yes, yeah, I have it. So it's
That's great.
This kid.
Were you trying to think of it, or were you trying to sort which one is the longest running?
Yes, longest running was
Okay.
the one. It's probably with Jay Koppel. I ran against him for student class secretary when we were in the third grade, and he beat me. And
So that's like 8 years old, right?
8
or
years
9?
old, and I've held it against him because I thought I ran the better campaign. I had the slogan, I had the props, I had all these things.
Would he pass out? Did Jay pass out candy or something?
Maybe, or just that people liked him better, and it wasn't as abrasive. But either way, I thought that I had ran the better campaign, and he beat me, and I never let him live it down. He ended up being the valedictorian of our class, and then he went to Clemson and didn't do anything. So I was like, okay, here we go, Jake. I still hold
She's
it against
kept
him.
her eye on him. Now she knows what he's up to.
She has, every morning she wakes up, she looks at his LinkedIn. Has he
Hoping
done
he
anything
gets
different?
fired.
Yeah, I know he's just doing
Where it
important
just
engineering
says, where
work
it says
somewhere.
past work.
Failure.
And there's an actual end date to what he's currently doing because.
Watch your back, Jake Koppel. Emily's
also-
gunning.
We
for
got a
you.
first and last name.
He was always really
A
close
blast.
to me too because it was like HO and HY would always be close together in like lineups alphabetically, and so we were always compared against each other too at the same time. Yeah, no thanks, Jake.
That's terrific. Duval Jameson says, I was quarter champs for the Navy CB Battalion. I got many a sailor, CB, and Marine absolutely smashed. Bring it on, Duval. I've got a little game in that department as well. We could go back and forth right there. Ricardo Granados says, in an age of crypto, Apple Pay, etc., Trav asking younger generations if they've played quarters. Look, I understand that I am older than everyone else in this room. You guys have all had a quarter in your pocket
people
at
still
a
Yeah,
bar
I've
before.
played it. I'm just no good.
It's not that much different than somebody
Never heard
playing
of it.
Monopoly. You still play old games. It's not like they just
Didn't
all
ask if they had
stopped.
powdered wigs.
You ever played Old Maid?
Yeah, I mean, this is not
Gin
that
rummy.
old, right? Oh, my gosh. Let's try a quick phone call here. Let's go. Michael in Orange County. Michael,
Actually,
you're...
sorry, Michael hung up on
Michael
us, but
just
we have
left.
Sam in
We'll
Los
do
Angeles.
Sam in L.A. instead. Sam, what's up, Sam? Sam. Go for Sam.
0 for 2. Not a good sign for tonight. This is not a good sign for
All right.
tonight.
I mean, these were both people that wanted to dump on the Warriors, too, and so they both pulled the plug at the last minute, Slee. I don't know.
That's two. That's 2 in a row that we thought were going to get Laker calls. Gone.
Well,
What does that say about tonight? Is this
Maybe
tonight
they're
a
so
blowout?
confident that I don't even need to do it. I don't even need to call Travis
Well,
Slee.
Sam wanted to make the argument that Steph's only one of the greatest of all time because we manufactured the 3-point, and without the 3-pointer, Steph wouldn't be anything. And I was like, okay, bud.
First of all, the three-point shot came in the 1970s. Steph didn't show up until the early part of the 2000s. It took 30 years for somebody to unlock that shot the way that Steph Curry did. So I
And
think
he
that-
was not this lottery pick. I mean, he was, but he wasn't
Yeah.
this sawed-off player. Nobody thought he was going to change the game. Yes, Steph is
He
fine.
changed the way that everyone plays basketball everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
not just in the NBA, but every basketball game that is played now is played differently because Steph Curry was that guy. So I feel like he's more
No,
than
he's- yeah,
earned
he's
his
okay.
qualifications. Yeah.
He's all right.
All right. The Dodgers started Trace Thompson today, who's 0 for 27 with 17 strikeouts in his last 27
Jeez.
at-bats. That seems like an interesting move. He's actually up to bat right now. We'll keep you posted on how that plays
He'll
out.
probably hit a
But-
solo just because you said
good,
that.
Good,
Yeah.
good. If that's what it takes, that's what it's all about. It's interesting. So you said to me, what was it, a month or so ago? Like, what's the
Couple weeks ago.
Couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. What's the number one concern for the Dodgers? And at the time, it was the bullpen because it was, with the exception of Evan Phillips, it was not very good. He was the only guy that was giving you a pretty regular performance on the right side. That's changed. He's been good. Almonte's kind of figured it out. Caleb Ferguson has looked pretty good. Justin Brule has looked pretty good. And even a guy...
They used everybody yesterday.
Victor Gonzalez has been great. You saw yesterday, Syndergaard tore a blister
Yep.
off of his finger, and he was unable to go after the first inning. That's not something they would have been able to do a month ago. To put together 8 innings of solid bullpen
Sure.
work,
Yeah.
they let that thing kind of cook a little bit. They've juggled some of the pieces. They got Gonzalez back. He's been huge, but that's not nearly as big of a problem as it was.
Yeah, and you know, this is kind
0
of
for 28.
Yeah, not good for Trace. This is kind of, you know, you try to look at, all right, the Dodgers through X amount of games. Where are their soft spots? And if that's the one that stood out to you before, you had said something a couple weeks ago that they're not going to keep throwing out the same guys. If they got issues, you're going to start seeing them, all right, try somebody different. And they started doing that. Yesterday was a good example of it because yesterday Syndergaard only pitched, what he pitched? An inning. Yeah, 1 inning, right? So now you're stuck to having to use your bullpen, which is not ideal. We'll see Kershaw gives them 7 innings tonight, then maybe it's not that big of a deal, or 7 innings today. But that wasn't a game where they fell apart. They gave up 2 runs the entire game to a good Brewers team. Milwaukee's 4 or 5 games over 500, whatever they are. That's a great sign. Against the Padres, they had moments where the Padres only scored, I think after the first game where they scored 5, I think it was 2-1 or something, or 1-2.
1-2.
Something like that, right? There were moments where you thought, all right, maybe the Padres can, Julio's out of the game. Maybe now they can score their runs. Or you kind of hope that there were some of those opportunities, but the Dodgers, that is kind of an area that's been cleaned up a little bit.
The thing that when you watch them play, when they're good, they're as good as anybody, right? When the bats are hot, when Mookie's hitting, when Freddie's hitting, Will Smith has added a ton of depth to their lineup. That looks really good. Can you score runs? And again, Dodger fans, my hands up in the air, are so flippin' spoiled that I'm already thinking about what this is going to look like in October. I'm already thinking what this is going to look like in a playoff series against the Padres, against the Phillies, against the Braves,
Atlanta.
against
Yeah.
any of the Mets who have this incredible depth of pitching these teams do. Can you score runs without hitting home runs? Yesterday, they scored 6 runs. Only 2 of them were manufactured. The other ones were hit. Vargas homered, Smith homered, Mookie homered.
That's right.
They hit a ton of home runs, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I'll take them as many as you can get. But you're not going to hit a bunch of home runs off of Max Fried and Justin Verlander and Yu Darvish. You're just not going to do it. Can you scrap together a handful of runs? And they just really don't do it. And that to me, especially once you get to like that 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th spot in the order, it's really kind of, they turn that over really quickly. There are just a lot of very quiet outs in that part. I think they need to find a way to extend that lineup even further.
I'm going to put some things in perspective for you because you're right. There is no question about it. From a Dodger fan perspective, there is a what's the best way to put it? The expectations that Dodger fans have for the Dodgers is not normal to the rest of baseball. So I'll put it in perspective for you. They're 22-15, and they have the second best record in the National League.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a rebuild? Is this a retool year? It's a rebuild year.
Yes.
They didn't go out and spend money in the summer, or I'm sorry, in the offseason in December. And that's where they're sitting. Okay, let's look a little bit further into them. Okay, record. Sometimes the record could be a little bit deceiving. They're 22-15. There's one team better than them in the NL. It's the Atlanta Braves. Okay, there's one team better than them in run differential, and it's not actually really even that close. I mean, Braves are plus 61, Dodgers are plus 41 in run differential. There is actually the Cubbies are plus 42, even though they're 2 games below 500. So that's a little bit of an interesting one. You're not wrong in saying what you were talking about. You don't want to rely on just the home run ball. You want small baseball, guys on second and third, 1 out, where you're able to drive in both of those runs. And by the way, I think there's a lot of teams, that is the difference. In the playoffs, why did the Dodgers not advance? Runners in scoring position, they couldn't do anything. Runners in scoring position, they never took advantage of it. But I think if you take a step back right now on the Dodgers, and if I'd have told you you're close to 40 games in, and they're sitting where they're sitting, and the pitching has been pretty much, I think their pitching has been really, really good.
I've never understood the criticism of their starting pitching. Remember last year when these guys, I said to you, Tom, like, they're fine. They are 100% fine in the starting pitching department. They don't have to go over and look at Verlander or any of these other guys that are hitting the market. They have more than enough. They have a ton of young arms. Syndergaard's going to miss some time with that finger, which means you're going to get more Stone. You're going to get more
fine
Grove.
Good opportunities for these guys to get.
And one of those guys is going to turn out to be really, really good. They're fine in that regard.
They're playing 2 guys in Outman and Vargas that are just, you don't know what you're going to get this year. And I think most Dodger fans would say, yeah, that looks like it's going to work. Mm-hmm. The reason why I kind of set it up that way, we can poke holes at the Dodgers. They're in a great spot, and they look like they belong. And it doesn't look like it's going to go anytime. I know you kept saying, "Hey, the month in May is going to mean a lot."
Only lost 2 games.
They're winning these games.
May 10th.
They're playing good teams, and they're winning these games.
They win today. That'll be 7 series in a row that they've been able to win, which is kind of where they start. Look, this is what they do. They start stacking money in May, in June,
and what's going to happen when you get close to the trade deadline and they start deciding, hey, what do we do from here? What do we need? What can we go after? They're in a great position.
The Angels lost last night. Shohei Ohtani pitched his you-know-what off, and he passed Babe Ruth again on another list, and at the end of the day, they lost. It just is so classic. I laugh because I want him to be a Dodger, and I want him to struggle because I think that virtually assures that he leaves. I think he's going to leave anyway. But the headline, Ohtani passes Ruth again, Angels lose, is just so perfect for where they are with him, and every time you see something like that, it's one step closer to him putting on a Dodger hat.
Do you want it to go? You and I have talked about this. Do you want them to be if the Angels are out of the mix before the trade deadline, and now it's rumors are coming out? Hey, they're going to shop him. Do you want that to happen, or do you want to wait till after the year?
I just want him. You know what I mean? Like in a perfect world, you get him without giving up any of your assets. You get him without giving up, Gavin. Michael Grove or Gavin Stone or Bobby Miller or Cartaya or any of these high-level prospects that they have. But if I got to ship out Tony Gonsolin or Dustin May and somebody else to go get, fine.
That's all it would take?
It'd probably take more than that, but it would take at least that plus prospect. It would take a major league starting pitcher.
Yep.
It would take multiple prospects, probably an everyday player somewhere else in your lineup, and I would drive them all down to Anaheim to do it. I will put them in the Silverado. There's plenty of room, and we will go down there, and I will give them a nice – they can listen to whatever they want.
Yep.
It's got Sirius XM. They can listen to that. Can listen to 710.
Do you know how many Dodger fans would be lining up to drive everybody down there?
We'll chip in for gas.
Everybody's driving down.
I'll take like 8 cents from every Dodger fan that wants to contribute, and we can do it that way. Let's try another phone call. Let's go to Johnny next. Johnny, you're on with Trav and Slee. What's going on, Johnny?
Hey, what's up, guys? It's been tough. It's been a tough time being a Dodger or a Laker fan out here in the Bay, but I'm telling you, tonight they're going to close it out, and I need this, going to work. I'm surrounded by Giants fans, Niner fans. I'm surrounded by all these Bay fans, and it's this win would be good for those fans that are away from LA. So let's just go close it out tonight, baby.
Thanks, Johnny. I think that they're gonna throw their very best punch. The idea that was floating around, hey, be careful, don't fire all your bullets, save them for game. I think they're gonna fire every bullet they got tonight.
Can I just say that? I cannot emphasize how impressive that would be if it's done tonight.
Ooh.
I said from the beginning of the show, I thought it was going to go 7. And not this way, but I thought it was going to go 7. If they finish this series in 5, by the way, even 6 is incredibly impressive.
Sure,
close it out. But if these are kind of some of those moments that when they close it up against Memphis and they won by 40. I don't know if you remember me telling you, I'm like, Trav, when you win a game like that by 40 in a closeout game, there's some teams turning around. Lakers did what? They won by how much? If you go to the Bay Area tonight, wrap up that dynasty that's been an unbelievable dynasty, that Bron, by the way, how poetic, Bron is the one that closes out that dynasty, and he does it in the Bay Area up in San Francisco. That's as impressive. If you thought I was excited after 3-1, thinking, guys, they got a real chance to win this whole thing, if they could wrap this thing up tonight, I don't know what to tell you. There's no more impressive team in the NBA than the Lakers if they're able to wrap this one up
You
tonight.
said something I think is fascinating right there. I want to come back. We'll talk about this coming up next. Are they the team right now? You look around, and there's always a team that kind of has the feel of, hey, they're actually maybe not the favorites, maybe not the team that everybody thought coming in, but the team for right now have the Lakers grab that spot. That's coming up next. It's Trav and Slee, 710.
more at 10 a.m.
And it is Travis and Sliwa, your Wednesday, a Lakers Game Day Wednesday. Thanks to our friends at Michelob Ultra. Lakers-Warriors Game 5. Can we deliver that knockout punch tonight and punch our ticket to the Western Conference Finals? Let's do it, yo. Coverage begins at 5:30 p.m. The Toyota Lakers countdown to tip-off with Sliwa. Tip-off at 7 p.m. from the Chase Center. We bring you all the play-by-play on the push to Banner 18. Your Lakers playoff station, 710 ESPN. Right now, more of Travis and Sliwa, your Wednesday.
So in the time it took us to, a couple minutes,
Yep.
Dodgers hit 2 home runs. So I guess I was right? 2 runs, 2 home runs, nobody on base. Those were the only 2 runs they scored, but they did put a couple of runs on the board. Freddie and Will Smith going back-to-back. So we'll take it.
I have a difficult time trying to find some of the weaknesses for the Dodgers.
Oh, they're there.
They're there, but everyone has them, and they're
Yeah.
a lot more glaring, I think, for other teams.
You're on to something. That they have them for the first time in a long time, I think, is part of the issue. That you can be nitpicky about the bullpen, that you can be nitpicky about their last 3 or 4 guys in the order. Every team's last 3 guys in the order are not particularly dangerous. It's just before they had Cody Bellinger hanging
Sometimes
out down
Lux
there.
at 9.
Having Lux batting 8th in your lineup
Yeah.
was a nice little bonus. Let's try phone call again. Let's try Rob in Los Angeles. Rob, you're on Travis Slee. What's up, Rob?
Hey, Travis. So you're saying you want Ohtani at all costs, and whether it's this year or next year. What if you take Rendon's contract and you give up less prospect capital? Maybe you move Muncy back to second. Maybe you give up Vargas and, let's say, Gonsolin, but you're not giving up the whole farm system.
Oh, yeah. Look, if you have to pay a premium, if you're the Angels, that's exactly the offer that you're looking to get. Not only
get this money off the books.
This guy is dead weight on my roster. He's provided virtually nothing for them. And you know what would happen in this situation? Thanks for the phone call, Rob. Anthony Rendon would, whether it's the Dodgers or somebody else, is going to refine his stroke. That's just that's just the bad luck that the Angels have had in their career. But sure. And by the way, the Dodgers have shown that they're willing to do this. When they got
David Price,
when they've taken on Carl Crawford, they've taken on dead money before to get the guys that they want. You want Manny Ramirez or Adrian Gonzalez, you got to take on this dead money along the way. Mookie Betts, sure, we'll take David Price with you. That's fine. And they got decent work out of a guy like David Price.
Can I ask you, for as much of the conversation is about what happens to Ohtani, what happens to Trout? Let's say that this is exactly as it goes, and Ohtani eventually gets traded and he ends up somewhere else. And let's say Rendon is part of a deal because they're trying to the rebuilding of it all, right? We're going to start over. We're obviously going to go with young players. Let's Trout just okay to be hanging out? I mean, he's been there already. I mean, he's kind of already indicated that he's okay with it.
I was just going to say, do you get the sense that he doesn't want to stay? I don't. If he were frustrated by what's been going, keep in mind now, he's been there 10 years.
Can I just say from a competitive perspective?
Yeah.
And I'm not telling you that he's not competitive, but damn, that sounds like an awful, awful career to be that good and never have any opportunities to win.
It is what he's picked. And by the way, it's not even his fault.
It's not that it's his fault, but
there's one part of it that's his fault. That when someone says, hey, we've got $440 million, yes, I would like that. Bring me the pen right now. I will take that. But where he hasn't used his advantage is,
how are we going to compete?
Look, no, I will take your $440 million. Cool, done. I get this money no matter what. Okay, cool. I'm going to the newspaper tomorrow and telling them how you're all a bunch of clowns, that you can't surround me with something. And if you don't, I want out. That's the card he's been unwilling to play. He's been unwilling to do exactly what Ohtani did 2 years ago, which is, hey, man, this is cool. I like Orange County. Living in Newport Beach or wherever Ohtani lives is nice, but I'd like to play in some meaningful games at some point. And everybody went, what? Huh? Oh, wow. Mike Trout was there for 4 years before Ohtani got there. He never did that. That's my only criticism with him. Not the player, not that he took the money, but he hasn't twisted their arm.
That's not, when you say that's your only criticism towards him, that's heavy criticism.
Sure it is.
And I don't think that's, just imagine, best way that I can put it, imagine a player that great And we're never going to talk about him having. Remember that big moment in the playoffs when he did this or he did that? You mentioned Manny Ramirez, right? You just mentioned Manny. Go look at whether it's Ortiz or whether it's. Think of just these big leaguers that had these moments. They're all in the playoffs. I don't understand. I don't understand how Trout is okay with it. I don't understand that. I really, really don't. That one's because Ohtani. The only conversation about the Angels is. Will they trade him? Will he walk away? Which one's going to happen first? And what's not brought up is here's this other player.
He seems okay with it. There's no other way to characterize it, right?
I lose respect to that.
I sure, and I get the argument. Mace just sent us a text, and he's like, honoring your contract with your franchise is an honorable thing, a noble thing. Sure, but there has to be some relationship going both ways. I know that they're paying him a literal fortune, and that's the Don Draper line. That's what the money's for, right? Yep. I get it. He's been there 10 years. He gave them 6 years before he signed that deal, 7 years before, to say, you guys got to surround me with something, to go to them after 10 years and say, guys, man, I gave you 10 years to figure this out, and you can't do it. I do want to play in the postseason. I do want to have my moment in the World Series. We saw he was into the World Baseball Classic because it's the first time he tasted competition like that since he become a pro, since his rookie year when they got swept by the Royals. He wants more of it. It's not going to happen with them.
Can I tell you what I think is more honorable than honoring your contract is, and we've talked about this from an NBA perspective, I've told you, I love when players hold the franchise hostage. LeBron used to do this in Cleveland. I'm going to stay here, but you know what I'm going to sign? I'm going to sign a 2-year deal. And after the first year, I have the option. You want to know why I want to do that? It's because I want a chance to win a championship. If I'm going to go down as one of the greatest players to ever play the game, you know what I can't have? 8 straight years without making the playoffs. I can't have that. It can't be part of the resume. And I know for
especially
baseball,
with the way the field's expanded, there's lots of spots.
And I know, I know for baseball, it's a lot different. One player cannot change your entire organization, where it can happen in basketball. If you got the right quarterback, it can change it in the NFL. But damn, little bit of pressure. It's funny when you said that Ohtani 2 years ago said it. I remember at that time when you said, "Where's Mike Trout's statement?"
That's why I say he's. I don't want to say he's okay with losing. I think that's a bridge too far. But,
I don't.
But he's okay with being in an environment where they keep saying, "Well, we'll try better next year." All right. There's Ohtani's not buying, we'll do better next year. He's not buying, well, we're going to draft this guy, we're going to sign this guy. He's like, nah, guys, I've seen how you operate this place. Doesn't work for me.
Maybe it's not.
It does work for Mike
Maybe
Trout.
It's not. I don't know if it's too harsh to say it that way. I think he's okay with losing. I don't think you need to go further than that. He's okay with losing. He's been there for how long, and what have they done the entire time that he's been there? They've lost, which means he's okay with losing.
He did have 3 playoff games that first year, Slee. Now, they lost them all. And the Royals did go to the World Series, so I guess that's something.
But how deflating would that be that if you're Mike Trout, Ohtani leaves, and you're still sitting there?
That's his fault.
It is.
That's his fault.
But by the way, if I'm the Angels, I'm saying, well, if I'm rebuilding this whole thing, why didn't I go see what I could get from Mike Trout too?
Yeah. Little Turner Scherzer action. Hey, I know you called about Max Scherzer. Could we interest you in a Trey Turner while we have you here in the store? Maybe it's one of those situations like, look, I know you've been looking at the Ohtani. You've been in the store a few times. I know you're very interested, but can I just show you the Trout? You might like it.
Can I
just show you?
With an SUV and a truck.
Well, maybe you can. Maybe you got a kid that's just about to turn 16 and he needs to drive to school or work or whatever it is. And you're like, hey, look, I got it in my budget. I can sell off this older car. I can make it work. They did it before. They left D.C. with Scherzer. Can you imagine? That's the answer to the question, by the way. Mm-hmm. The answer to the question, if you really want to juice it, if you're the Angels, you get rid of both of them. You get rid of both of them because
why not?
Because why
I'm
not?
with you. Why not?
That's exactly right.
If you're going to freaking rebuild the damn thing, you're not trading Ohtani because now you're going to all of a sudden get good.
No.
You are trading to basically say, can we find the next potential star or all-star or
But that's the
superstar
thing,
and give it time to marinate.
They don't. Yes, that would be ideal if you could find more all-stars.
Problem is they don't develop them. That's what you were going to say.
What they need are a bunch of guys that are just good major league pitchers. What they need are 3 Tony Gonsolins.
No, you know what they need?
They don't need 3 Clayton Kershaws. They need 3 Tony Gonsolins.
You know what they need? The right owner. That's what they need.
Or an owner that just says, you go do it over there.
This is
other GMs that
I
they've
cut
had,
the checks. You go get the job done.
Yeah, just find 3 Tony Gonsolins. Maybe you drop in a Dustin May along the way, but you're not going to find. If you keep go Kershaw hunting, you're never going to find that.
How is Trout okay with that?
He is. If he would have said he wasn't, he would have said it like it's 10 years. This isn't, well, I'm a kid, I keep my head down and I'll just play the game. And look, maybe it's just his personality that he just despises conflict. That's fine. There are people like that. Maybe he's saying it privately and he's not saying it publicly because he doesn't want the smoke that comes along with kind of, hitting the detonator like that.
Privately hasn't worked.
It hasn't. Mm-hmm. It hasn't. Look, there's a reason everybody is jumping up and down, led by me on the Ohtani's thing, because know he's leaving.
It's a clicking. It's the time is just winding down.
Ohtani breaks another Ruth record, Angels lose. I saw it again last night, over and over and over again. Emma, are we doing this right now, or is this another tease?
A tease.
This is a tease. So we are teasing you about the chance to win the ultimate summer getaway to the Surf and Sand Resort in Laguna Beach. Here's what you do. You listen for us to tell you when it's time to call, and if you are the correct caller, you win $50 to the Splashes Bar, and you qualify for the grand prize at the Surf and Sand Resort in Laguna Beach, which is a 2-night stay at Surf and Sand, couple spa treatment, dinner for 2, and beach activities. Relax, unwind, and rejuvenate oceanside at Surf and Sand Resort. Peace of mind guarantee. It is a terrific prize at a terrific place. Emily's Factor Cap coming up next. It's Travis Lee, 710.
The smokin' good times are back at Morongo on May 21st. Enjoy cigars from the world's finest vendors, scotch sampling, delicious food. Hosted by big game James Worthy. Get tickets now on Ticketmaster. Morongo, good times.
Travis and Sliwa, we're here each weekday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., and it's time for Factor Cap.
Oh, that's cap.
That's so cap, Dad.
Everything I've said is a cap, but I'm going to go back.
First of all, it's not a cap. It
is a cap.
Welcome to Factor Cap.
Hey, guys. I think that the bigger question is, who do you guys think that I am in the office? I think there's one right, very accurate answer.
So, I think the fact that you have very hard and fast rules for what is and isn't a thing, whether it's a movie star or this, that, or the other.
Going Angela?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Angela is the answer because Angela has very hard and fast rules for what she thinks is right and wrong.
I think Angela is the right call, and that's a good thing.
It is the wrong answer, but it's Kelly. She's obsessed with pop culture and TV. She is
Kelly's
very harsh
not bad
opinions
either.
about things.
Kelly's not bad either.
She's a little
It's
bit
not
obsessed about a lot of stuff.
But she doesn't have those hard and fast rules though.
Yes, she does. She said she came back with She said she talked literally that one thing where they said, "Oh, they're paying Ryan." That she talked about Netflix for 5 minutes, and the longer she went, the more people would give her money. That's me.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Hard and fast rule. She's Kelly.
The argument on behalf of being Kelly sounded like it was coming out of Angela's voice.
I do hate cats.
Right?
I do hate cats.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. So I finished this book that I started a while ago, but it's called Oscar.
With your choice of select sandwich.
Or sandwiches.
Sandwiches are good.
I like sandwiches.
Called Oscar Wars, and it's about the history of the Academy Awards. But the last chapter's all about the envelope mix-up with the Moonlight La La Land, if everyone remembers, where they said the wrong Best Picture winner. And then the last chapter also is about the Will Smith slap. So, if you're the Oscars, if you're people that run the Oscars, the envelope mix-up is a bigger mess than the Will Smith slap. Travis, fact or cap?
Fact, because they were responsible, as far as I can tell, for the Moonlight snafu, right? That somebody somewhere handed somebody the wrong thing, and you handed it to an elderly person. Was it Warren Beatty who screwed it up?
Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway, I think.
Yeah, so they weren't going to be able to kind of execute that on the fly. Right, but that was a foul up on the Academy's part. The Academy didn't make Will Smith go slap Chris Rock. Will Smith did that. So that's, the foul up on the envelope is far worse. Fact.
Berg?
Cap, because there was violence involved with the Will Smith slap. Whether it was the Academy's fault or not, that's what you talk about when you talk about the Oscars now. There's Will Smith going to slap somebody? Is somebody going to get up there and slap somebody? I hope nobody slaps anybody this time.
Kind of hope someone does.
Right. I mean, there's that part of it too. Now the Oscars are built around a slap, where I kind of forgot about that. That just was something weird that happened.
Al?
Yeah, I'm with Berg on this one. I go cap, and part of it too was because how long after he slapped him did he end up going up and giving a speech for?
It was like 30 minutes later.
Not much later.
Yeah.
So it was also
so that's on them too, by the way.
It's called building drama, guys.
That's the other.
Eyeballs.
That's the other part of it too, where I was like, did you guys not just see what happened a half hour ago?
And everybody stood up and cheered.
Yeah,
and
it was the whole
clapped.
thing. Was
They
even
like the
more
movie.
awkward.
What, don't you like the King Richard? Why
It
are you
it
hating
was a
on
great
King
movie.
Richard?
It was really good.
I think that it's, again, more on Will Smith than it is against the Academy. Taylor?
I think
what they
fact.
do.
Yeah. I think that the slap was better for the Oscars
I
than,
agree.
than anything else. Like
You
Travis
think it
said.
was better
TV.
for the Oscars?
They should do it every other year, and you
Yeah,
just
it's
don't know who's
huge
going to get
publicity.
slapped.
Oh, you
Good
think you're
TV.
watching more now because of the slap?
Because of Will Smith? Absolutely.
I
Hoping
didn't
for
watch
another
this
one.
year. I watched 0
When-
seconds of this
because he
year's Oscars.
wasn't there. Wait till they
Well,
let
he
him back
should
in.
I still won't watch.
It's
You think he's
having
gonna get up and slap again?
Who knows? Let's find out. Let's turn it on and see.
Nah, that's actually makes me want to watch it less.
All right, so we were talking a lot about The Office today. One of my friends at school, she actually had an episode of The Office filmed at her house. Her house is David Wallace's house.
Oh, nice.
And so, but she always talked about how it's been used in a couple different shows, and it's always a little weird to see your house on TV, and they redecorate it. So, you would want something filmed in your home. All right, so it's on TV and it's filmed in your home. Berg, fact or cap?
Fact, this has happened before. I had an apartment years ago.
Trav.
Freddie Freeman just with a 2-run single.
Nice.
There was a show on MTV called I Want to Be Like You or something like that, and my roommate was a part of it and was actually, so they filmed it in my house, but I wasn't allowed in the house during the time. He was allowed in. They made it so the guy slept in my bed. It was a very weird overall thing.
But I don't want that. That's
I
part
don't
of the
either.
gig.
It was totally fake, by the way, so I'm just calling you out, MTV. But yeah, fact, because I've had it.
Alan?
Fact, it makes me think of Step Brothers was the main house that they were in. I can't remember if it's in Altadena or in South Pasadena.
It's probably in South Pass. They use South Pass a lot.
Okay, so
Catalina wine mix.
the fact that a movie like that, like a classic movie like that, I think it's hilarious that it's there in a neighborhood. It's not out on set, something along those lines. I think that's a story you could tell forever. I go fact.
Trav?
Yeah, I think I'm capped because of what Greg was talking about. This did not happen to me, but my sister-in-law had her home used on one of those home renovation shows where they come in and say, "Oh, well, you can redecorate with just the things you have around your house, right?"
Yeah.
Well, they go out and say, "Buy these 3 things, throw them in the garage like they've been there forever." And they come in and go, "Oh, look at these patio lights. We'll string these over." And they turn what was already a very nice place into a slightly prettier place, I guess. But the entire thing is kind of a fugazi, like somebody sleeping in your bed, right? I could do without. I know what my house looks like. I don't need to see it on TV.
Taylor?
Cap, I wouldn't want it. You get all the looky-loos coming by, like the Breaking Bad house. You know, everybody wants to come and take a picture.
Throw a pizza on your roof.
Yeah, on the roof.
Yeah.
I'm good.
God, how many pizzas are on that roof?
Well, they had to put make a fence,
gate.
yeah.
They put a gate there.
It's wild.
I drove by it.
Did you? You
Yeah,
told
years
me you
ago.
did. Yeah.
All right, so it's beginning of the birthday season in the Hebel household. So my younger sister's birthday starts on May 19th, and it ends with my birthday at the beginning of June. So I've been in the midst of buying a lot of gifts for my sisters. And so I both ask them what they want, and then I also think about what they might not ask for, but might also want. So you would rather be surprised about a gift than get exactly what you asked for. Alan, Patrick Cap.
I think fact on this one. I think being surprised there's a risk to it because they can get you exactly what you don't want. You got to go back and all that stuff. But when somebody actually gives it some thought and they surprise you with something, that's so much better than, hey, can you get me exactly this? It's what I need. It's blah, blah, blah. And it just kind of takes away what it is.
Trev?
Yeah, I'd rather be surprised for sure because I don't need anything, right? And if I need something, like if there's something very specific that I need, I'm going to buy it for myself. I'm not going to say, hey, for my birthday coming up, why don't you X, Y, Z? It's always, you're right, Al. There could be a huge miss where you're like, yeah, I'm never, ever using that.
I appreciate the effort.
But I do appreciate the effort. For instance, my mother-in-law gave me it's a little like old-fashioned glass, right? A little rocks glass.
Oh, that's cool.
That has Dodger Stadium etched into the glass at the bottom. Perfect. I would have never even known that such a thing existed. I would never buy that for myself. I open the box, I'm like, this is fantastic. I love it. I look forward to seeing it when I use it, but I would never think about it. Always go for the surprise, even if there's a miss factor.
Berg?
So I want to say fact because of all the reasons that you guys said, but I've had such bad experiences that I think I'm going to go Cap. I had a girlfriend once get me a pen.
Okay.
It wasn't like an expensive...
Like a Bic?
No. Yeah, it was like a pen that had like a ruler on it, and in case I wanted to measure things. She also
for all those times that you're writing and you don't know how long something is,
right?
That comes in
how
perfect.
Long
in
is
that
this paper?
situation.
Yeah. Was that word long enough? And then she also got me a check engine light detector.
Sure.
Yeah.
She work at Pep Boys?
No. You know what it was? It was because it basically, oh, shoot, I forgot. I need to stop at the gas station on the way home. So let me go grab something.
What do you have back in the repair bay?
She got you Twix and castor oil.
So I have this like in my brain at all times. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna get something bad again. I'm not with her.
Well, she's just not a good. She just wasn't good at.
So
that's
I'm
not a
just
surprise
afraid.
thing. She just sucks at giving presents.
Yeah,
I'm just afraid now. So I'm just like, I'd rather just tell you that I don't want
she
anything.
Scarred
and don't
you
get me anything.
Clearly,
and then I can complain that nobody got me anything.
A pen that measures things—that's the worst thing I've ever heard.
It was a pen and had a ruler on it.
Do you still
it
have
had
it?
little. No, oh no, God no. It was bad.
You broke up with her when you opened that, right? You're like, okay, this is it. We're not seeing each
just
other.
What I always wanted.
We had discussions.
Taylor?
Oh man, I'd rather get what I want, but I think it's better if you ask them indirectly or ask them in a way that they don't know that you're being, that they are asking. I guess I don't know. Does that make any sense?
Yeah,
I really could use some socks. Some things like
exactly.
Yeah. Or sometimes also asking their friend or someone else around them is also a good way to get around it too. So the movie Twister came out this day in 1996, and it's a movie that scarred me as a child, and I thought that twisters and tornadoes were going to be a bigger deal in my life than they actually ended up being. I did actually experience a lot of tornadoes growing up, but like nothing that was that
Are there
serious.
tornadoes in Virginia?
Yes,
is that a thing?
There are tornadoes in Virginia.
Okay,
in Virginia.
I didn't know that.
So there is something that you thought when you were a kid that would be a big deal as an adult that ended up not being a big deal at all. Taylor, Federer Crap.
I think quicksand is one.
That's the one
for sure.
That's the
great
one.
answer.
That's the
Great
right
answer.
answer.
Definitely,
That's the one.
and I don't know, watching the Roadrunner and Coyote.
Anvils.
Yeah,
Falling pianos.
Falling anvils and pianos.
Travis.
He nailed it. It's quicksand. It's things falling out of the sky and landing on your head. Anvils, pianos, whatever it might be. Because your point of reference when you're 6, 7, 8 years old, or at least for my generation, were Looney Tune cartoons. That something was going to happen.
Someone would paint an opening into a rock.
You'd get swallowed by a whale when you're swimming in the ocean. Like all of these things that will literally never ever happen to you. I don't even know if quicksand is a real thing or a cartoon creation.
I think it is a real
Is
thing.
it a real
thing?
It
Yes.
is a real thing.
I've never seen it, heard somebody that's seen it, heard someone that fell into it and needed a vine tossed to them, getting stranded on a desert island. Like anything TV related was your greatest fear.
Berg?
There's no way I can top quicksand. That is absolutely the greatest answer that you could possibly have. I mean, Blazing Saddles was a great example of that. It was a big movie that I watched, and they're falling in, they take the horse out. Yeah, no, quicksand's the right answer.
One additional one, too, for me is Rugrats. There's one episode where a kid eats a watermelon with the seeds, and the watermelon grows in his stomach.
Oh, the gum.
The
Eating
gum
too.
for sure.
Yeah.
It
Al?
stays with you for 30 years.
Yeah, no, it's gone.
So I think, when you're a kid, and I grew up, obviously, I've mentioned this before, I grew up in the church, Catholic church, everything else. There's just things that you believe when you're a kid that, I can't do this. If I do this, it's, you're going to hell, this, that. As you get a little older, you kind of realize that you could still go to hell. But it just doesn't hold the same weight as it did when you were a kid. So that would be the one thing I could use as an example.
What were the things you were afraid of doing as a kid that would send you to hell?
Just your basic stuff, just being a good
Gossip.
kid, just literally any of that stuff, lying, any of that you took as a kid. Like, if you actually did it, oh my gosh, I'm like, all right, I think I'm fine.
You escaped. You're
That's for now. For now, it
You
can
might
come
go to
back
hell for
around
other
at any
reasons.
time.
Travis and I might be going to hell, but you're not.
Oh, I'm definitely going.
Oh, I am.
Oh, but here's the
if
thing.
it exists,
Here's
I'm
the-
in trouble.
here's
I
the
just
thing.
happen to choose that it doesn't exist.
Right. I totally agree with you.
But also, guys,
We
if you're-
all know that you guys are going to hell.
Of course.
if you're listening and you have something that you think was going to be a bigger deal as an adult, please weigh in on Twitter, phones, everything.
Quicksand is the number one winner in the clubhouse.
I don't know if they can be beaten.
Never, ever going to happen. Are the Lakers the team? I'll explain what that means next. It's Travis Lee, 710.
The smoking good times are back at Morongo on May 21st. Enjoy cigars from the world's finest vendors, scotch sampling, delicious food. Hosted by big game James Worthy. Get tickets now on Ticketmaster. Morongo, good times.
got a couple of editions of things that we were told as children that turned out not to be true.
Yep.
Sacco writes, turning the light on in the car would get you pulled over by the police. The parents use this on me all the time. I never got that one, that if you turn, my parents would flip out if I turned the light on inside the car because you can't see out of the car. You get that weird reflection. I didn't know the cops were involved. That's a new one for me.
Yeah, the threatening of, back in the day was different for us. The seatbelt was not what it is today.
Sure.
The seatbelt was it was more lax. It was just, you didn't have to put it on.
Put it on or not. It's up to you.
But my parents were like, throw on that damn seatbelt. If you don't, cops are coming, the cops are coming. I throw the seatbelt on right away.
Dan Peralta says, as a kid, I really thought that jellyfish were going to be a bigger issue for me.
Jellyfish are, in certain areas. So, like, when I went to in Hilton Head, where I go every summer we have someone get stung. It sucks.
And it hurts.
It hurts, and you either have to, pee on it, or you use Coke.
Yeah, I haven't heard the Coke.
Coca-Cola.
Yeah, I figured as much. I didn't think that you were rubbing yayo on your jellyfish bites. I didn't think that was the evil family recipe.
Yeah, but Coke can work, yes.
Coca-Cola, of course. Let's specify. Home run, Miguel Vargas, Dodgers with a
3 home runs already.
Yep. There you go.
Hey,
swing the bats
runner on for this one.
Yeah, we'll take it. We will absolutely take it. So every year, we were talking about this the other day, that there doesn't seem to be a team in the postseason of the 8 teams that are left in the NBA. It's like it's going through them, right? You have to beat them. For the longest time, it's been the Warriors, right? That when the Warriors weren't in the mix a couple of years ago, it felt like it was going through Giannis and it was going through Phoenix. That there were, and some with Giannis and the Bucks, it hit. With Phoenix, it did not hit, right? But there was a clear-cut favorite going into this. This year, not so much. Number 1 seed in the East gets clipped right away.
Yep.
Number 1 seed in the West, still alive, but we've never seen them in the finals before, so who knows? With what's left,
they look good.
They look really good.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. They look really good, and Jokic looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
Are the Lakers the team to beat? Because what they do is the most repeatable. They have experience. With the exception of Austin Reeves, they have a veteran-heavy team. They've got guys maybe haven't played a ton of playoff games, but have played a ton of NBA basketball. They seem to have the momentum that you'd like to see in the playoff series. Like Boston, they could still win that series, but their momentum's kind of all over the place. Denver is unknown. Phoenix is still trying to figure things out. Or the Lakers are getting really important contributions from non-stars, from guys like Lonnie Walker or D'Angelo Russell or Rui or whoever it may be on any given night. This is kind of the recipe on how you win an NBA championship, and the Lakers are closer to that recipe than any of the other 7 teams.
Okay, let's just kind of put it how it is. Lakers are 7-3 so far in the playoffs. 7-3. That record is actually very similar to what the Lakers were since the trade deadline,
right?
In the sense that they're winning a lot more games than they're losing. They're winning at home. They're stealing one game every playoff series so far. They're stealing a game on the road. They're playing good basketball. I would say this. Go look at all the other teams. And Denver, you said, we'll get into in a little bit. Denver's very, very impressive.
I think they're the second closest thing to the Lakers as far as being consistent.
But I'll say this about the Lakers, and I think this is why Laker fans should be excited of what the Lakers have accomplished so far. You have 2 dominating players. One of them is actually doing it on the floor every single night. The other one has done it for basically 20 years. Mm-hmm. And even if he can't be the same dominating player that he is, he can pass on some of that knowledge to some of these guys. He could pass on some of that confidence. Chris Paul can't say something to somebody else. There's a little bit of a, yeah, but you're Chris Paul.
Yeah.
LeBron can say whatever he wants. And they will listen to LeBron. I think they got enough of these players that have never had success, have never gone this deep, that you tell me what to do and I will listen because you're LeBron James. They have the role players that you were talking about where it doesn't have to be one dude. Just give me 1 or 2 guys a game that's chipping in and helping out a little bit. That's all you really need. You don't need,
and having
you don't need 25 from each.
You don't need 25, Al, but I do think there comes maybe 1 game per series where somebody that you just did not expect to win you a game wins you a game.
Yeah.
You got Austin Reeves, kind of takes game 1 for you in Memphis.
Rui, game 1 in Memphis, 29.
Rui was great. You have Lonnie Walker, game 4. That you're going to have to get what you get from AD and LeBron, but there's always one of those, man, if Lonnie Walker doesn't get 15 points in the fourth quarter, we probably lose that game. They're getting that game each time.
Can I give you an example, too? Game 1 against the Warriors. Dennis Schroeder had 19.
Yeah.
There has been a guy. You're right. And sometimes it's not even one guy a series. It's once every other game or so, you feel like somebody else is stepping up. And here's what I think is the most important thing compared to all these other teams that are out there. And again, I'm not watching Philly and Boston the way I'm watching the Lakers and the Golden State Warriors. Lakers get stops. They play defense.
Yeah.
When they need a stop, there was a moment in Game 4 where Golden State wasn't in an awful position. It's a 1-point game, whatever, 20, 30 seconds left, whatever the case was. Steph's trying to shoot over Anthony Davis. Clay is trying to shoot over 2 different guys that are collapsing on him. Draymond's not even looking at the basket. I don't know what Draymond's doing. They get stops. I'll take my chances with a team like the Lakers and a team that gets stops.
People are coming in with their things that freaked him out as a kid, Slee. Killer bees from Crypto Ray. There was a moment where we all thought we were doomed. Every time you'd see a bee, it's like, is that one of those ones from Africa that has like the size of a pterodactyl?
No, not the bee! Even if you got stung by just a regular bee, you were convinced. I'm like, this is it. No, this is it.
That's one of those things that as a kid you feel like you're going to die, and you're like, it's probably not as bad as I remember. It's worse as an adult. It feels like your entire leg is going to come off when you get stung by a bee. Let's try John in L.A. John, you're on with Trav and Slee. What's up, John?
Hey, guys. Remember when you were a kid and they told you don't go in the bathroom and say Bloody Mary 10 times or else you'll appear?
Sure.
Like, I don't know, and that's supernatural stuff I don't want to find out about.
I
don't
did
want
at
to do that
7.
even
I
as
stopped
an
at
adult.
7. I pulled the plug at 7. I'm like,
what
no,
about
not doing it.
Beetlejuice?
What's
oh,
that
yeah,
one?
that's right.
Well, you say his name enough times
Yep.
That he'll appear. He will appear.
Like Michael Keaton will show up, or
Yeah, I mean it's just from the movie, you know. But like my friends convinced me that that's just not just in the movie; that it's everywhere.
I think the takeaway from all of this, Al, is that kids are pretty dumb. They're pretty gullible. They'll believe just about anything. You can. It's so funny. You can tell your kids, especially when they're like 5 or 6, 7 years old, when the parents are still the center of their universe. They haven't really gone out into the world and experienced other adults as much or other kids. You can tell them anything and they will believe you.
Was this one too, where if you swallowed gum, it's like going to stay in your stomach?
Oh yeah, we talked about that.
Okay, let me throw this one more here. Did you ever, like, you're swimming and you just swallow a little bit of water? I'm like, it's over. It's it. It's done.
Well, I think that's
I'm
drowning.
I'm drowning.
I don't know if that's a superstition as
No,
much as it
but
is that you
I'm
might
talking
drown.
about like you literally just a little bit of water. It's over. There's salt in there.
Chrissy's mother was mean to her. She writes, my mom told me that if I bit my fingernails and I accidentally swallowed one of the pieces, it would turn into a worm.
Jeez.
I never bit my nails ever again. LOL. That's just cruel. Like, you want to tell your kids not to buy what's that thing, like if you do make the face with your eyes, you know, you bug your eyes out or whatever, if somebody slapped you on the back, that it would stay that way forever.
Yeah, or if you cross your eyes, that it would stay like that.
You should
there you
probably
go.
not listen to 6-year-olds. They're not
No.
very good at facts, unless of course you give them to your own kids, and you can spread
Then you're
rumors
fine. Yeah, then you're
all
fine.
throughout the neighborhood.
I also like this one from One More Than Track, and he says he used to be scared to pee in the pool because he thought a blue ring would follow him around the pool.
Yeah.
And that's not true.
That's it. I've heard that forever.
Yeah, I've
and
heard
ever.
that
They
too.
actually did that, and was it not Step Brothers?
It's one of the
Grown Ups.
Yeah, Grown Ups.
Grown Ups.
An Adam Sandler movie
Yeah.
for sure.
And everybody's like, "What?" The giant ring of blue dye starts going away from Kevin James. Absolutely. All right, let's try one more. We'll do it on the other side. Plus, AD against Jokic. Is that a great matchup for the Lakers? It might be better than you actually think. That's coming up next. Travis Lee, 710.
Angeles. KRDC AM 1110 Pasadena, Los Angeles.
710 ESPN.
A good karma Brands radio station.
Listen to Travis and Sliwa more at 10 a.m.
And it is Travis and Sliwa, your Wednesday, a Lakers Game Day Wednesday. Thanks to our friends at Michelob Ultra. Lakers-Warriors Game 5. Can we deliver that knockout punch tonight and punch our ticket to the Western Conference Finals? Let's do it, yo. Coverage begins at 5:30 p.m. The Toyota Lakers countdown to tip-off with Sliwa. Tip-off at 7 p.m. from the Chase Center. We bring you all the play-by-play on the push to Banner 18. Your Lakers playoff station, 710 ESPN. Right now, more of Travis and Sliwa, your Wednesday.
So apparently, Emily, I shadowed some bingo cards in the last segment. I don't know if you've been looking at Twitter. Mailman Matt goes, who had a yayo reference from Trav on their bingo card today? 626 Brewhouse. Trav saying yayo literally made me laugh out loud. And then one more, Porky, never thought I'd see the day I hear Travis say yayo on the radio. So there you go. I like to keep everybody guessing.
That's a new one for us.
Well, she was the one that brought it up. I think everybody thought you meant Coca-Cola.
Yeah,
you felt the need to
clarify.
specify.
Yeah, just want to make sure that they know what's going on in the Hebel household.
Absolutely.
I like this one from Gabe O'Chea. I don't know, but
Gabe. We'll go with Gabe.
Sure, Gabe. He says the Bermuda Triangle was terrifying as a kid.
It's a great one.
But I mean, maybe it's real. Who knows?
Oh, it is real.
Yes,
planes
it was
crash
gonna be,
and boats sink, but
yes, but that was going to be a huge deal in your life.
That you would have to dodge the Bermuda Triangle at some point in your life is not a thing. One more, Debbie writes, if you swallowed a seed from a piece of fruit, a tree would grow in your stomach.
No, you're done.
No, the
There's nothing you
Rugrats
can do.
episode.
Yeah, that seems
nothing you could do.
What is like the lemon tree just poke itself out of your gut, or you had a
no,
watermelon?
And
that's
the
growing
Rugrats
in there?
episode, you get really, really big, like almost like you're pregnant, and that's because there's a watermelon inside of you.
Yeah.
They have to cut into you and get it out.
Let's try another series. People like this topic. Alan in San Clemente. Al, you're on with Trav and Slee. What's up?
Yeah, continuing on your yayo topic, I thought growing up that random strangers were going to be giving me drugs and candy and drinks.
Like to poison you or to try to get you to smuggle unknowingly?
I don't know. Growing up, don't talk to the stranger. Never take candy from a stranger.
Well, that's
don't
good advice.
Take a drink that's been open.
Yeah, that advice I think is still being used, and it's really good advice.
Yeah, stranger danger was a big thing.
Yeah. Well, yes, and it is good advice. But the getting your food drugged by randos, that was never one I really worried about. Like if I walked away from my Subway sandwich, someone's going to.
No, it was more like
my
Halloween candy, right? Like that kind of candy.
Yeah,
you were
like
worried about that.
Okay.
The razor blades or whatever in the chocolate.
Yeah.
No one's going around drugging my cold cut combo from Subway, like lacing it with PCP.
Yeah.
Just feel like we're probably okay there. Lakers have a chance to lock the door, close it out. I think they're going to. I think they're going to win the series. I think that they're going to win tonight. It's one of those feelings that I think they don't want to mess around with these guys. The Grizzlies felt like a much more mess-aroundable team, if that's a word, where you could say, like, the Grizzlies are not going to put together 3 games that could really put you in a position to where you blow the whole thing. The Warriors, while they're not the Warriors of years past, they still do have Steph Curry. They do have that pedigree. It makes me worried. I think they slam the door tonight because I think AD shows up and is really good again. I don't know what light bulb went off in that dude's head, but he's been terrific for them in this series.
Okay, help me understand this, because is it because you're worried that if Golden State wins tonight, then it puts some real pressure on the Lakers in Game 6?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Because what makes you think that? I've already gave you my opinion on. I think the Lakers are just better than the Golden State Warriors. Mm-hmm. What makes you think they go to Golden State tonight? Then that tells me that as much to do with the Warriors than it does the Lakers.
I think that the difference tonight is that the Lakers are going to match the Warriors' energy. Mm-hmm. I think that they know that they can't allow, because you let it slip through your fingers tonight because you have a safety net, right? And which is human nature, which happens all the time.
Yeah.
There's a reason that most of these series do go 6 or 7 games, because that's
you
how
can't
it is.
make up desperation.
You can't fake it. You can't fake it. I don't want, if I'm LeBron James, I'm telling the story, guys, I was down through one of these guys, and they gave us a crack this big, and we walked right through it. And we walked right through it because I was able to do this, that, and the other thing. If they win tonight, the Warriors.
Yep.
Steph Curry, Steve Kerr, Draymond, all these guys, we just need to get that desperation one more time and get this thing back.
Send it back.
And everything lands on the Lakers' plate at that point. I don't think that the Lakers are going to play that game. I think you see them. Now, they could lose. They could just run into a team that plays better than they are tonight.
Lose by 5. It doesn't have to be a 25-point game, 30-point game.
But I don't think they want that. Hey, now we have to win Game 6 because going back, can the Lakers win a Game 7 on the road? Of course they can. Don't even let that be a possibility. Shut the door tonight and move on to the Nuggets, probably.
I have curiosity on what kind of Warriors team shows up because I think for the Warriors, I think everything that you just said makes a whole ton of sense. But I think the Golden State Warriors, I think there's also this could be it for them. Think about their dynasty and what they've been able to accomplish over the last 8 years, 10 years. Okay? There is a good chance that if they lost tonight, that trio, Bob Myers, Steve Kerr, add that with Draymond and Steph and Clay, that we never see that again. That's not unlikely. The question, I think, from the Golden State Warriors is, do you believe that you can beat the Los Angeles Lakers? Or do you think, I know they're going to be as confident as they possibly can. But there does come a point where you start saying to yourself, we're not winning the close games. It's demoralizing the way they lost the last game. The Lakers get stops when who the hell, Lonnie Walker came out of nowhere. Now we got to worry about Lonnie Walker out of all players. There does, I think as every game goes by, it kind of adds to it. I just wonder if the Golden State Warriors are saying to themselves that there's real doubt. Hey, the chance, it's LeBron again. How many times, we can't, we sit here and we talk about you got to take the Warriors out there, the defending champs. Well, how many Warriors are looking at LeBron and saying, this dude again? I mean, the only time we beat this guy is when Kyrie was hurt, when Kevin Love was hurt, or we had Kevin Durant on the team, right? That I think a lot of it also depends. I think the Lakers could come out, they could be aggressive, they could be that, they could be all this stuff, but I think a lot of it depends for me on what are the Warriors look like by the end of the first quarter.
They got to get something beyond Steph Curry. This has been the rub for them, right? When the 2 games they've been in, it's been because Steph has kind of kept them in it with Steph stuff. That the other games, Clay has been, and Clay was good in Game 2. He was okay in Game 1. He's been kind of all over the map. Jordan Poole's been dreadful, right? DiVincenzo really hasn't. All the guys
have not been impactful.
All the guys we've talked about on the other side, whether it's Walker or Rui or Schroeder or Russell or any of these guys, they've all had moments where they've contributed to important wins. The Warriors really have not gotten that. And Clay's not a role player. Clay just needs to play better in these next 3 games.
Clay had 1 game.
Yeah, he has not been particularly effective. The Lakers just have more players doing more. The Warriors have Steph, and that's why I think Steve Kerr is searching. He's trying different lineups. He's trying to go small. He's trying to
smaller,
right? And it's just I have no other option. The Lakers just need to keep doing what they're doing. Be big, get to the foul line, play really good defense. They have to get Steph going on a 10 out of 10, and they have to find somebody else that is a threat. And so far, they haven't been able to do that.
Yeah, Lakers just clearly it's more sustainable what they have. Can I jump ahead for a quick second?
Sure.
Can I pretend that the Lakers won this game against the Golden State Warriors, whether it's tonight or it's on Friday? And we're looking at, and I'm going to jump ahead as well. I think Phoenix will close out, or I think the Nuggets will close out the Suns in the next game. We'll see what happens. Maybe they go 7, maybe they don't. Did you get a chance to catch the Nuggets at all yesterday?
Most of it, yeah.
Okay, so when we talk about the pedigree of what you need to win an NBA championship, they're missing one thing. They've never won an NBA championship. So that's the one thing that they're missing. But watching them against Phoenix yesterday, when we talk about the Lakers having the size advantage over the Warriors, Lakers being bigger, stronger, more length, and having depth, real role players, Denver's got everything. They got everything. And if we're finding ourselves watching Jokic and Anthony Davis in the next round, first off, how cool would that be, right? Just that matchup alone. I know everybody kind of wanted, and this, well, again, Lakers got to finish off the Golden State Warriors, but I am going to jump ahead for a quick second. There was for a brief second, hey, could it be KD and LeBron in the Western Conference Finals? We are doing that for the chances to play the Golden State Warriors in this round, and we're obviously getting a chance to see it. But watching the Denver Nuggets yesterday, they got length, they got size, they got arguably the best player every single time he steps on the floor. I don't care if Devin Booker's there. I don't care if KD's there. I don't care. The best player every single time he steps on the floor. They got a second guy that knows his role. Jamal Murray doesn't need to take 30 shots. Jamal Murray is a point guard, but Jamal Murray is a really, really good point guard. Mm-hmm. And then they got everything up. You want defense? You want shooters like KCP? You want grind guys like Bruce Brown? You want Aaron Gordon? They have a real squad. I was just incredibly impressed watching them yesterday.
They look good. You kind of touched on it. I think that the experience is at the top of the list, that they haven't been in that. Jokic hasn't played in the finals, etc. That's number one for sure.
They played the Lakers. That's the only thing that they have, right? Western Conference Finals against the Lakers in Orlando.
Yeah.
And I give them that because I think that has actually that's decent experience there because you went against LeBron and AD.
I think you're right.
And they had big comebacks in that series too. And
they came back from 3-1 against Utah and the Clippers, right?
Yes.
They came back 3 times in a row in that. What I was getting at is what we've seen over the course of the NBA for the last 30 years is, at worst, there are a couple of exceptions, but not many. You need to have 2 guys that are just transcendent. Mm-hmm. You need 2, right? Going back to Jordan and Pippen and Shaq and Kobe
LeBron
and Powell,
and AD in that 2020 championship.
Steph and Clay,
Steph and KD.
You go maybe the Pistons and their run. They didn't have that kind of setup. They were a little bit different. But you had Parker and Ginobili, or you had Duncan and Ginobili. You have at least 2 guys. Is Jamal Murray one of those guys? I think that you're right, Al. He's a good player, but is he one of those guys? I don't know. He has moments where he's great, but you're going to need 2 guys to be terrific 5 or 6 times in a 7-game series to win one of those series. There's no question in my mind Jokic will be that guy. There's no question in my mind Embiid will be that guy. James Harden has not. James Harden has moments. James Harden has games, but James Harden has not been, whether as the best player on the team or the second best player on the team, kind of found a way to be that good that often. AD has, LeBron has, Steph has, Clay has, all of these other guys that Kevin Durant has, all of them have done it. I don't know if the Nuggets have that second dude. He's a great candidate for it, but I need to see it before I believe it.
All right, so let me give you, and if you're saying basically what you're saying, let's say Joker and AD are a wash.
Sure.
Okay. Let's call it a wash because Jokic is going to do more than AD does on offense.
Yep.
He distributes. He does everything.
He's a better offensive player.
And he can put up 53 like he did in a game. AD's going to do more than Jokic is going to do on the other side.
No doubt.
So let's just call those a wash. Let's call the role players, which I don't even know if I'd have
Did
to
you
see.
Not give the slight edge to the Nuggets?
I
maybe?
do. I was going to say. I don't know if I could do this to the Denver Nuggets because I haven't watched enough of their games. But from what I have watched, let's say we give them a slight edge because they've been together longer, they got some length, the size, this, that. Then the question, I guess, then comes down to the number 2 player. We can do this coming back because I pulled up the stats for what Jamal Murray's done in the playoffs, what LeBron's done in the playoffs.
And something else could come to an end tonight that we've been looking at every single season for nearly a decade. That's coming up. It's Trav and Slee, 710 ESPN.
of LA Sports Talk all day long. Each weekday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. This is Travis and Sliwa on 710 ESPN.
Does this go back to one of the Factor Caps? Not Factor Cap. We had Ask Emily today, and the question was, would you rather have uncontrollable sneezing or hiccups for a year? Was that the question that we had?
Yeah.
Bo Jackson has had hiccups since last July. I don't know why. That according to TMZ. The greatest athlete that I've ever seen, right?
What?
That Bo Jackson's had hiccups
That's
since
a thing?
July. I've known that you can get them and they don't really ever kind of go away.
What if somebody scares you?
Maybe. I would imagine that Bo's tried a lot.
That was the only way.
Okay, here's one. You get to be Bo Jackson, but you have hiccups.
I'm in.
Do I get to be Bo Jackson in the 80s and I just get it when
yeah,
I'm
but you have hiccups from then
you
till
only
now.
Get it from now.
That's what because even being Bo now would be
Is
pretty
a good
cool.
life.
It'd be pretty cool. But yeah, Bo's had hiccups since
That's
July.
so random.
That sounds awful. Emily, you were stepping out. Bo Jackson, there's a story on TMZ Sports that he's had the hiccups since July. Kind of reminded me of the Ask Emily we had. No word on whether he passed on having sneezes for a year.
Why do we say bless you for sneezes but not hiccups? They're both uncontrollable.
Worst.
My second grade teacher used to say you can say hiccup you is what she said we could say. So sometimes I would do that, but
I would think if anybody could just mind over matter it would be Bo Jackson.
Bo Jackson. He's losing. He's losing it.
Do you have a favorite Bo thing? Because he's a little before your time, right? You were like a really little kid when he was
is, but I
playing.
think it's his. Wasn't it his basically jumping on the wall?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, that's
the right answer. Where he caught a fly ball,
Yep.
running at full speed, like parallel to the wall, but slightly heading towards it, and then just
And
basically
like a lizard,
like Spider-Man. He
Yeah.
just walked on the side of the wall
Like
and
nothing.
walked right off. There's a Mark Gubizzo does color for the Angels on their television broadcast. Was teammates with Bo in Kansas City for a long time, and he said that Bo would bring a bow and arrow into the clubhouse.
Okay,
and apparently he was like a master archer. Like he could put this arrow wherever he wanted to put it, and he would shoot arrows in the club, like arrows, not like a toy, like a real bow and arrow. And he would be like shoot apples off of the top of tables and things like this where there were people all around. That's how.
Do you know how
good
many
of an athlete
athletes
Bo
there
was.
are like that, where there's stories that we just know them as this person does this? Like if actually, here's a good example. I guess Mookie is a really good bowler, right? Mookie's supposedly a really, really good bowler. Okay, how am I supposed to know that? But then when somebody says Mookie Betts is a really good bowler, you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Did you see that Mookie refused to stay in the team hotel the last couple of nights? That he's staying.
Is there a haunted?
That he's at the Airbnb in Milwaukee. That he didn't want to stay with the Pfister Hotel in Milwaukee is reportedly
that's the one
haunted. And he's like, I don't believe in ghosts, but I've been in there before and heard noises and didn't know what it was. So just better to be safe than sorry.
I've heard John Ireland, I think, has told stories where Lou Williams back in the day. I think Oklahoma City had I think they changed hotels, but they had a hotel that everybody thought was haunted, whatever. And I think Lou Williams was one of those players that, yeah, I'm good. Yeah, thank you, but you guys go ahead and stay there.
Okay.
We all don't believe in ghosts until we're encountering ghosts. So
yeah, I don't fancy myself a ghost person, but so I want to read this for you. This is from Bryce Harper. Okay, can we all just agree that Bryce Harper, that I've been accused of the same thing. Bryce Harper seems to lack whimsy, in my opinion. He's a pretty serious guy, right? Yeah. Bryce Harper does not seem like a guy that's going to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make up some ghost stories to see if I can get people to buy it. Here's Bryce Harper talking about the Pfister Hotel in Milwaukee. One time last summer before I went to sleep, I laid a pair of jeans and a shirt on that table at the foot of the bed, those things in hotels that you sit on to put on your shoes. I just laid them out, simple as that. When I woke up in the morning, I swear on everything, the clothes were on the floor and the table was on the opposite side of the room against the wall. I was so flustered. I honestly thought there might be someone in my room. I had no idea what the hell had just happened. So I actually looked around and then I checked to see if the door was still latched, and it was.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm not. That's a good enough story from. I would call Bryce Harper a very reputable source.
Yes, that makes me believe it more.
So I'm okay now with no longer staying there. I'm with him, and if I'm Mookie, I'm going to an Airbnb as well.
Brandon Phillips.
Now, are you pissing off the ghosts? by not going there. Are they taking a trip to your Airbnb?
Okay, so there's a story for that too. I want to read you Brandon Phillips first.
Okay.
Played for the Reds for a long time. About the Pfister Hotel in Milwaukee. We play Milwaukee a lot, but I remember one time I came into the room and I just sat on the bed. For some reason, the damn radio turns on. So I turned it off and got in the shower. When I was done, that mother blanker had turned itself back on again. This is one of those. Okay, your first instinct is the radio's malfunctioning. There's like a short; it's turning itself on.
Occam's razor.
Right? That's not working. But this is a third story where you're talking about just leave me alone. Maybe they'll follow me along. Michael Young, who I know. Michael Young is a casual, friendly acquaintance of mine. Not a prankster, not a joker.
Yeah.
Okay? Very serious man. Oh, blank that place. That's how he opens this, right? I'm not someone who spreads ghost stories, so I'm telling you this. It happened. A couple of years ago, I was lying in bed after a night game, and I was out. My room was locked, but I heard these footsteps inside my room stomping around. I'd heard all these stories about this hotel. I'm wide awake at this point. And then I heard it again, these footsteps on the floor, so I yelled out, "Hey, make yourself at home, hang out, have a seat, but don't wake me up, okay?" After that, I didn't hear a thing for the rest of the night. I just let him know he was welcome, that we could be pals, that he could marinate in there for as long as he needed to, just as long as he didn't wake me up.
That is the right way to approach it. This is going to sound dumb, but I kind of keep an eye on stuff like this. Anytime you go to, it's about maybe 3-4 weeks ago, I was up in Lake Arrowhead. So my girl, her parents have just a condo up there, but it's a very cabin feel. Cabin feel right out the gate gives me a little bit of like,
I'm with you.
There's ghosts here.
There's
something.
All scary movies start with a cabin.
With a cabin.
In the woods.
There's something like
cabin.
that. Trees everywhere, all that stuff. Okay.
Some youths are being a little bit too frisky.
Amorous.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was one moment in the dining room, and there's a little chandelier there, and obviously it's got the light switch, everything else. And out of nowhere, the light came on. My girl was in the kitchen. I was over by the TV in the living room. The light just came on. And I didn't do anything. I walked over to her. I said, "Did you turn that light on?" She said, "No." She said, "Did you turn that light on?" I said, "No." And the rest of the night, it was like, all right, well, what do we do here? One other time over the weekend, it flickered at one point, and then that was it. That's all I need now to mentally think there's somebody in here.
Okay, what is Occam's razor, M? That's what is the most likely explanation is usually the right explanation.
Yeah.
Could it just be that this hotel has employees that are rabid Brewer fans that have set up these things to try to torment people in the middle of the night with their sleep? Could it be that?
I don't think so.
You're going ghosts?
Yeah.
Those are some committed workers.
But it's one of those things they kind of indoctrinated. Listen, they put these guys in this room. This is the one that you can control the radio.
But don't you just do
remotely.
that with like, hey, don't let the air conditioning work on this 107-degree evening where it's humid.
It could be
That's
that.
what they do.
Yeah, but
It's also a violation of Bryce Harper if they go into his room and move his stuff around.
That's by far the most alarming one, because that's one of those, I know I put that there. I know I didn't wake up in the middle of the night. I wouldn't move a table in the middle of the night. I wouldn't do that.
That's
door,
freaky.
somebody could get into your room, right? Theoretically, a hotel employee, they can't do the deadbolt, the latch from the outside.
Yeah.
You can't do that. That's the radio going off. Radio sucks. Okay, some thumping in the walls. I don't know what that is, but they're a person, a ghost, probably not. Table moves in the middle of the night.
That's a lot.
I don't love that. I wouldn't stay with Mookie. Can I sleep on your couch?
Even the radio stuff. The radio stuff, I think, is a little bit.
That could be bad
you go out of
circuit.
your way to say, "I'm turning it off because I know this hotel. I know what it is." Come out of the shower and it's
If it
on.
were unplugged and then it was replugged back in, that would freak me out. Radio on and off, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay at the Holiday Inn. I'm going to skip the.
I do
the
find
Pfister
those
Hotel.
stories fascinating. Like listening to those stories, especially coming from some. It depends who's delivering the story.
100%.
And I think what you said about Bryce Harper, his personality,
He's
who
a
he
serious
is, his
person.
demeanor, the whole thing. Bryce Harper didn't wake up and say, "I'm going to tell a ghost story."
I'm going to go. No. Bryce Harper, something got into his room and messed around with it. Could this be the end of the Warriors, Slee? Could this be the last time we see this team? Steve Kerr, potentially? I think the only thing that you could say for sure, unequivocally, Steph Curry is on this team next year. But when it comes to every other roster move, I think that you have to, if you're the Warriors, you have to have that moment like, what are we doing here? We just got beat in the second round. Some of our role players, some of our secondary stars are not as impactful as what they are. Do we re-up them? Do you extend them? Do they accept options? Like this could be the end of a legitimate NBA dynasty. 4 titles in 8 years is a legit NBA dynasty.
So there's a couple things that are at play for the Warriors. I think, first off, you got to ask yourself, you can't pay people for what they've done in the past. You can't. If your goal is to continue to win, you can't pay somebody for what they've done in the past. And they're going to have some of those questions to ask about Clay. Some of these questions are going to be coming up. Bob Myers isn't even a guarantee to come back.
Yeah, you're right.
His contract is up at the end of this year, and supposedly he wants to get paid out, and there is no guarantee that the Golden State Warriors are going to pay him out. This could be the end. And if there's one thing that the Warriors have done brilliantly that we don't talk enough about, think about they've had the 3. It's been Clay, Steph, and Draymond. That's not enough, I think, to win a championship in this whole circle. What they've done
right
is,
now, you mean?
Just in general.
Okay.
Andre Iguodala was also
sure.
a part of it. Harrison Barnes was also a part of it. When Harrison Barnes went, KD came in, right? Okay, KD went. People didn't kind of pay too close of attention. When Harrison Barnes went out, they ended up getting D'Angelo Russell. When they got D'Lo, they ended up using him in a sign and trade for Kevin Durant.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Or
right,
actually, no. Yeah, that's who they got from there. Then they used D'Lo for Andrew Wiggins.
Yep.
They have been able to kind of keep it together, but just work on the outside. But the outside is so critical to their infrastructure.
No question.
The one thing with the Golden State Warriors is, again, are you going to pay people for what they've done in the past, or are you going to just start saying, guys, this has been an incredible run. Steph is the core. Everything else, we question what you do from there.
It's the hardest thing for an executive to do, right? So if you're Joe Lacob, if you're Bob Myers, who's ever in that meeting room, right? They're making those decisions that are made at the very top of the organization. These guys have been they've taken the Warriors from a team that was just one of the teams in the NBA to the
Golden
team
State
in the NBA.
How many years were they going with no success?
Nowhere. They were laughably bad for the vast majority of my life, right? They were the model organization for the last 10 years. Nothing lasts forever, and you'd rather be a little early than a little late on this, right? And that's the question. And they won a championship last
season.
Year. They were in the mix. They're getting beat by a very good Lakers team.
I was going
to
say, what if just hypothetically, all right, they just make a couple changes, you need a little bit more size, whatever it is that you figure out with the Lakers.
You have to ask yourself, right?
You could potentially just say, all right, we just ran into a good Lakers team.
We got beat by the team that won the whole thing, and we gave them a fight along the way. Run it back with those tweaks around the edges like we're talking about, but let's do it again. Don't blow it up. Clay, Steph, Draymond, and the nuts and bolts of that team is more than good enough. We need to fix the edges, but run it back. What if this is the end?
But
then you run it back and it's worse.
I have a feeling that that's not going to happen. That they're going to run it back.
You think they are? Or that
I don't
not?
think they're going to run it back.
Who
I think
goes?
there'll be some changes.
Who goes?
I think the question is going to be, how much are you willing to pay Clay? And
it's Clay's option. It's his option, right?
I think it's his option, but I think he's due for. He has an opportunity to get another 4-year extension or a 4-year max or whatever it is. Okay, what are you going to do? Is Draymond? Do you want to move on from the Draymond world, or is this right? Clay seems the one that's most interesting because he would be due the most amount of money. Find out.
Draymond's most valuable where he is. There are other places where he could be effective, but Draymond's deal, you know how much I like talking about people's deal. Yeah. Draymond's deal is far less tolerable outside of the Warrior infrastructure. Draymond punching teammates in the face is not going to work other places. Draymond getting suspended and
how about
kicked
that's
out
how
of
their
games.
year started? Their year started with that.
There's something up with Jordan Poole. I don't know exactly what it is, but he does not look like the player we saw a year ago. He looks like a totally different guy.
And he also looks like he might be a player that just wants, can I get out of here? I already got paid. And he didn't help himself with his value.
No, and he wants to play. I get that, and he's not playing right now. I understand.
His starter minutes when he was a starter versus coming off the bench is significantly different.
At least a portion of the NFL schedule came out, and get ready for a lot of one player in particular. That's coming up next. It's Travis Slee, 710 ESPN. right, we've now the talk of phobias as a child and all hiccup radio. Okay, Bo Jackson has had hiccups since July. We found that out after Emily was asked whether she'd rather have hiccups for an entire year or uncontrollable sneezing for a year. Apparently, Sal has had, maybe not for a year, but for quite some time. Sal, you're on with Trav and Slee. What's up, Sal?
Hey, guys. Enjoy the show. Listen to you guys every day.
Thanks,
Yeah,
bud.
about a little over a year ago, I had hiccups for about a week. After about the fourth day is when it gets miserable because you can't eat much. You can't really sleep. So after about the fifth day, my wife was like, you got to go to the emergency. This is not good for you. And then the seventh day, I just gave it all in and went to the hospital, and they gave me some medication. It's actually meant for, schizophrenia. So they told me to take this, and yeah, it's supposed to help out with the
did it work?
whole hiccup thing. Yeah, it took about 3 days. The first day, it kind of slowed down, and the second day, it was getting better. By the time the third, fourth day came, it was gone.
I hope Bo Jackson's listening to this.
I was going to say, tag him on Twitter or something. At Bo Jackson. Interesting.
Have you had him since, Sal, or do they not come back at all?
Every now and then, you know how you get something, drink something cold?
Yeah.
Kind of comes in for a second. Yeah, but every time I get one, I get scared. I get freaked
I
out.
don't blame you.
right.
That sounds terrible.
I'm now nervous about hiccups. Never
Don't
was.
drink a Coke. Don't drink anything cold, Slee, or you'll get hiccups for a week. Thanks, Sal. This is the quote from the Bo Jackson story. Again, Bo Jackson said he's had hiccups since July.
Oh, yeah, since
so
July.
we're closing in on a year. I've done everything. Scare me, drink water upside down, smell an ass of a porcupine. It doesn't work. I didn't know that was a... what's a country remedy? I didn't know
that's a well-known one.
I've heard scare. I've heard drink water upside down, plug your ears and drink a glass of water, all those things. Taylor, you grew up on a farm. Any porcupines on the farm?
No porcupines, but I can attest to the plug in your ears and drinking out of a straw. That's always worked for me. I don't know why Bo's not trying that.
Yeah, well, he went straight to the porcupine. It seems like
with his resources, this guy can't find.
It seems like somebody said, "I wonder if I can get Bo Jackson to smell a porcupine." I'm gonna tell him that's how it works. It seems aggressive for Bo. Just run up the side of a wall, Bo. Go get your bow and arrow out.
Your
Go
Bo
do
Jackson.
whatever it is. Yeah, just tell him to go away, or you'll mess him up. That would work. All right, Aaron Rodgers is going to be on Black Friday. Remember, the NFL is. Yeah. Got a new game that they're going to play the Friday after Thanksgiving. They've got the 3 games on Thanksgiving. They're going to have a Black Friday game, and it's the Jets against the Dolphins. Dolphins also have one of the games that's in Germany against the Chiefs.
Okay.
So apparently the NFL has decided that the country wants to see the Dolphins quite a bit. Not quite sure why, but whatever. Emily said this when the news of the Jets and the Aaron Rodgers marriage just first percolated, that we're going to get an absolute endless stream of national Jet games, and I think that's a good indication, Em, right? That they're going to give us Aaron Rodgers every which way.
Every chance they get.
New York plus star quarterback plus kind of, look.
Good division.
He's really good division, and he's kind of peculiar. It's like a perfect storm of what to put on TV.
The division is the only thing that excites me about that, is that he's going to have to go up against good teams, right? That, and listen, if has a lot of success and all of a sudden the Jets they're right in the hunt, they're part of the playoff picture, cool. I'm good for all those games. But, man, is there anything worse than when you're forcing something down and it doesn't work out, right? That you're Russell Wilson.
And the Rams, both of them last year. The Rams.
But at least the Rams, you had a legitimate – nobody thought it was going to happen this way. And then as the season started, you're like, oh, that's not good.
No.
How many more televised games do they have? 5.
They had 6 total.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they got flexed out of 1. But Russell Wilson – I don't like Russell Wilson, but I didn't think Russell Wilson was going to be a bad player. I didn't think that they were going to be a dreadful team the way that they were, and they were on Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football,
everywhere.
Thursday Night Football, all over the place. And there is a world that exists where the Jets and Aaron Rodgers are not good.
Yeah,
we just saw it. It could very easily happen again. Now, Emily, I think you and I, a little bit unlike Al, if the Jets are bad and we get to see Aaron Rodgers lose in front of the world, I think we'll be here for that.
Money.
Christmas for you guys over there.
And then the New York media is going to tear him up. Yeah, it's going to be great.
How many do you think the Rams get? I think the over. If I set the over under at primetime games, so we're talking Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Thursday Football. Okay, those 3 slots.
I have a number.
I'm going to set the over under at 2.5. Which one are you taking?
I'll go over.
You think you're going to get more than 2?
Yeah. 3. I get 3. You get 3 primetime
They won
games.
5 games last year.
Yeah. L.A. Rams.
Make the case.
Los Angeles market. They just had a bad season. You still have some of the best players in the NFL.
Do you?
Representing the Rams. Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp.
Aaron Donald,
3
Cooper Kupp,
players.
and Matthew Stafford. They've got 3 really good players, and then a whole bunch of let's see what happens next.
Some of it will be matchups. They just want to put the Niners on there with the Rams.
They
Some of it will be the opponents in general.
I think that's why.
on there.
I think that's why they get 3. I think it's 3 because they play the Cowboys, they play the Giants,
Steelers.
they play the Eagles, they play the Steelers, they play the Bengals. Those are all 5 teams that the rest of the country is excited to see. Whether the Rams and the 49ers, throw them in there too to make 6. That's 6 opponents. If half of those land, Cowboys are in prime time every other week.
the
Giants
showcase
are
of
in
SoFi too. Just there's
part
ways
of it.
to there's way to
They don't go out of their way though to put teams that were pretty crummy the year before in a ton of prime time. I think it's more the opponents. I think
Also,
you're spot on.
One thing to keep your eye on right now, Aaron Donald is speaking with reporters right now for the first time since he had a season-ending injury last season, so in 2022. So something may come out of what Aaron Donald has to say about the Rams, but I don't know. I also agree with Slee that it's probably 3, but I would be shocked if it's more than that.
I think it's 2 or 3. I think that's why 2.
If you said, "Hey, you could determine how many nationally televised games," I tell you one is good.
I want a Thursday. If you're asking me if there's a Trav, look, you get to set the Rams schedule. I want 2. I want them both on Thursdays because I want to double dip and just get it
And
done.
not have and
I
you
want
want to
some
not have a
Sundays.
Sunday. Yeah.
I want Sunday. Mondays are fine too. You can get
Mondays you
But
can
I'm
double.
also
16
okay with
I'm with you on the double dip.
Yeah.
Consistently getting the 10 o'clock slot, no international, 10 o'clock slot, get us out on Sunday. Or
They're in
early.
the Eastern time zone 5 times this year.
Wow.
I think they were only in it once last year. It's a totally different.
Yeah, your
setup.
problem is
Last year we had 4:30 almost every game.
Right.
Friday night starts rolling around. You're already thinking about Sunday.
I got to do my prep. I got to think about whether
Saturday you told me is basically shot.
Saturday night is shot. Saturday morning and afternoon are
You're
lovely.
fine?
But I like to get over there. I like to get there early. I like to make sure the espresso machine is up and running. I like to make sure that all of my people are in
Over
the right
under
places.
the espresso machine. In
Under.
the 10
Well, I
games,
don't care what the
in
number
the
you
10
said.
games
Under.
you have.
It's only worked
It's
like
good
6
for.
times.
It's good for 4.
So this will be
4 and
the
a half.
3rd season we've been inside SoFi. I think
Yeah.
it's been operational for 7 games. And the Super Bowl wasn't one of them. It's good when it works. It's pretty good. They have cans of
work.
Starbucks Nitro.
Just have some
pretty good as well.
Mountain Dew like I do every game.
You are Mountain Dew and Cheetos.
Yeah.
Is that your yeah? And then whatever.
Whatever
we,
they
we
serve
all
for
hit
lunch,
the spread.
yeah.
That's Kirk, Emily, and I do work on the spread. All 3 of us get after that.
It's
Pretty
yummy.
good. The Dump coming up next. It's Trav and Slee, 710.
everything we haven't gotten to today. Yes, it's time for the dump.
All right, so this feels like it's a trend that's going to happen. It happened in baseball. It's kind of working its way towards the NBA right now. J.J. Redick, who is a former NBA player, current ESPN analyst, podcaster, and really interesting guy. He's a thoughtful, interesting guy. Interviewed for the head coaching job for the Toronto Raptors. Apparently the Celtics have also considered adding J.J. Redick as an assistant coach, and I think this is kind of the new thing, right? Find a guy that was in the league relatively soon, surround him relatively recently, surround him with capable assistants and guys that can just relate to a player right now as opposed to a guy that's in his 50s or 60s.
So I'm going to give you a couple examples here, and I don't know what the perfect methodology is, and I think anytime you find a coach that has success at a young age, you're going to find probably 5 that didn't have success. It happens. I remember when Luke Walton was hired as a Lakers head coach.
Right.
And you had a young nucleus of players that he's going to kind of work with them and continue to go. And I remember talking about, I'm like, all right, let's think of Luke Walton's path. He was under Lute Olson at Arizona, coached by Phil Jackson. There were the ties of Steve Kerr when he was an assistant with the Golden State Warriors.
Yep.
Right? Came in as an intern. Remember they went on that run. It seemed like it's impossible for Luke Walton. I think he's going to have a lot of success in the NBA. Why wouldn't he? He wasn't never the best player, can see things from a perspective that's kind of a little bit different. Steve Nash. Steve Nash got the job in Brooklyn, right, and got it pretty fast. There's another guy. I'm like, this guy was so smart on the floor. He was so this, he was so that. Why wouldn't it work as a coach? So the J.J. Redick thing, I'm just using as an example of those other two. I thought they were going to be good coaches in the NBA, and I was way off. J.J. Redick seems like he could be a good coach in the NBA. I have no idea.
You bring up 2 really good examples. The reason, I think, if I'm Luke Walton, if I'm making the case for Luke Walton, the reason it didn't work for Luke Walton here, and he was in Sacramento too, never had any good players. I don't care if you gave Phil Jackson bad players, he's going to have a bad basketball team. Look at Greg Popovich right now. Did Greg Popovich forget what he's doing? No. He has lousy players. Right? You can't turn chicken bleep into chicken salad.
How about Steve Nash? Nash had.
That's a more interesting one because Nash was given a much better situation, but
there's some circumstances.
You also gave him one of the most peculiar guys in the league in Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
You also gave him...
KD was out the first year.
KD was hurt, and you got Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving, and I'm supposed to figure this out. Good luck. Ben Simmons is... one of
Harden
the great
made his way
mysteries.
there.
Harden was there. Like that was a weird one too, but you would think with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving you could at least survive longer than Steve Nash did.
Yeah, the JJ thing, look, I will say this. If there's an attractive coaching job in the NBA, Toronto's got a really nice young players. Udoka has definitely been he's definitely a president of basketball operations that has shown he could put together a roster. That's an interesting job there, rather than you're going to go take over the Orlando Magic or one of those.
The Milwaukee job's still open, right? They haven't filled that. That's the best job available, right? I mean, it's got Giannis.
Mm-hmm.
They were the NBA champions 2 years ago.
It is the best job.
Yeah.
And it's going to come with expectations out the gate.
Yeah, that's not a job for somebody that's getting their feet wet.
Mm-hmm.
Unless, of course, you look at Darvin Ham, who was, never been a head coach before.
Spoelstra had never been a head coach and took over that job.
He got blessed by Riley, though. That's like a totally different scenario.
You're right, but there were moments. Remember, they lost their first year. Looked like they were going to crumble. There were times Dwayne Wade was arguing with him and now we look at Eric Spoelstra and say he's running circles around every head coach that's out there.
Knowing that Pat Riley has your back, though, is an amazing... Because there was the stories about LeBron
You're right.
when he first went to Miami. He's like, hey, this might not be working out. And Riley's like, tough, you know what? He's your guy. You better figure it out with him.
He's literally one of the only ones where Pat Riley can say,
yep.
And everybody's like, well, something's going on here.
He's right. And it turns out that he was right. And so whenever Spoelstra decides that he wants to go, fly fishing for the rest of his life or whatever it is he wants to do, and Riley picks the next guy, there's like a 99% chance that he's going to pick the right guy.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, next one. It is National Golf Day. I play golf. I love golf. I watch golf, all these things. I didn't know there was a national day, and if I can lodge a complaint with who's ever in charge of these things, a Wednesday? Really? This has to be on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday.
But
It
you can
has to
call
be.
off work and say, "Hey, it's National Golf Day.
I
go
can't
golfing
call.
all day."
I can't
Okay,
call
let's
off
do
work
this.
to go play golf. I'd
Let's
like
do
to,
this.
but I can't.
Let's do this. I know you're frustrated because it fell on a Wednesday.
Come on, man.
But let me throw this out there for you, and you tell me. National Golf Day, and it's Saturday.
Okay.
Actually, which day you want it? Do you want it Sunday or Saturday?
Saturday, for
You
sure.
want it Saturday.
For sure, Saturday.
Give me. It's your golf course. You pick any time. What's the best time to play on a Saturday?
8 o'clock in the morning.
8 a.m. Saturday. Do you already have the 3 players that you want to play with, the 3 buddies?
Yes.
Or do you want to limit it to 2, or what?
No,
What do you want
I
to do?
want my dad and 2 of my golfing buddies.
Okay,
That's
so
what I want.
there's your 4, and now you're picking. I'm giving you any course
We're
that you want to
Pebble Beach.
play. You're at Pebble Beach.
Yes. Keep going. I like this game.
The
many
perfect
drinks?
amount of time that you're going to spend golfing on that Saturday. What's too much, too little? What's the perfect amount of time?
Well, and then the day we're talking about, I play.
What time do you want to be done?
I play really fast out.
Okay.
My dad plays really fast. My friends who I enjoy playing golf with play really fast
yeah,
as
so
well.
it's basically a 15-second pitch clock.
Kind of.
Yeah.
We go really fast. I don't want to go fast at Pebble Beach. I want to savor Pebble
Okay.
Beach.
So
5 hours.
5 hours, 18 holes, you're done at 1.
Yeah.
And then are you going somewhere else, or you're staying right there and you're going to eat? You're going to go directly to.
There's a place called the Tap Room right behind the 18th green at Pebble Beach that may or may not have these red leather booths with the green lights over and all this famous memorabilia. And there might be TVs, and there might be a bartender there that knows just how to make that martini. There might be a French dip sandwich in that place, Al, that might be the best one I've ever had in my life. And they come out with that nice salty au jus. The fries may or may not be perfect. I'm just guessing at these things, but this sounds like a pretty good day.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is National Golf Day. That is your perfect golf day right
That
there.
sounds pretty good, and I'm going to have.
I know nothing about anything, and I want to be there. I want a caddy.
And well, see, here's the problem. If you're my caddy, and you're welcome to do it, you're going to be lugging around a 12-pack of Coors Light too. Not only do you have to carry my clubs, but you're going to need to carry the 12-pack for the group.
I'm out.
And the ice that goes along with it.
Too much weight.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Also, before we move on,
Great description.
it is a final. The Dodgers win 8-1.
Okay, that game started at 10:40.
Yes.
2 hours
Very
and
quick.
13 minutes.
It's good. And that's with 9 runs total.
Clayton Kershaw
Granted,
was
only 1 came from Milwaukee.
absolutely fantastic. Let's see. Hold on. I want to see how good
7
he actually
innings.
was. Is it up there right now?
No, I know he went 7.
Hold on, I'm going to pull this up right here. He had the bad outing against San Diego, and remember, he had a bad outing, whatever. Clayton Kershaw, 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, 5 strikeouts, no walks. Excuse me, 8 strikeouts, no walks. He gave up the 1-run solo home run. Yeah, he's 35 or 6 years old and still just setting guys down. By the way, Milwaukee's good. Just set them down in order.
So that's how many straight series they've won?
I think that's 7. I think that's 7 series in a row that they've won.
Playing as good as baseball as anybody. By the way, Freddie Freeman, just 2 for 5, a home run, 3 RBI. Yeah, not a bad day.
Not a bad deal at all. Aaron Donald was speaking earlier today, like Emily mentioned. He was asked the question of whether or not retirement was something that he'd considered, and he said, quote, "It never really crossed my mind." I've never quite understood that. Why? I know that he said after the Super Bowl year that he really gave it some thought. He wanted to spend time with family. How hard would it be to leave when you are the absolute best at something?
Yeah.
I understand once it starts to go a little bit, but if you're the absolute best at what it is that you do, and Aaron Donald definitely is, how do you leave at the very pinnacle of your
Okay,
occupation?
think about all the greats that went too long. They couldn't let go.
Sure.
They couldn't. And they were starting to play. Their play was only getting worse, and they tried to stay around the game for as long as they can. Can you imagine any of those players at their best leaving?
Plus, it's at the price you pay playing football. You think about, okay, I'm a young guy. I'm still a young guy. I'm
Andrew
still
Luck.
one of the greatest of all time. I can walk away, still know I'm going to the Hall of Fame, all that stuff.
Football is the different one because of that.
Yeah.
That you could leave healthier.
Yep. That's why there are guys, interesting guys, retiring in their late 20s.
I'm trying. Luck is an interesting one.
Yeah,
but he
you're
kind of
right.
got out early.
The football thing that you mentioned, maybe we just didn't weigh it enough. That's the one. Because if somebody does it in basketball, if somebody did it in baseball, I'd be like, well, why? I mean,
right.
The safety isn't.
Yeah, but I mean, I
as
see
big
it in
of a
base.
question.
I mean, I remember Steve Carlton as a long reliever in Minnesota. I mean, people talk about
Yeah,
Willie
he pitched
Mays limping
25
around the
years.
outfield. I mean, but those guys didn't. Those guys hung around.
They
too
hung around
long.
a little too long, but they also didn't. they weren't great in year 24 and terrible in year 25.
Right.
Like Aaron Donald is in year whatever it is.
So you're
10
saying
right
walk
now.
away on the top.
He is
At
the
top.
best at what he does.
That's got to be so tough to. You're the best at what you do, and you're deciding to leave then.
Yeah, no,
Wouldn't
that's
that
hard.
leave a lot of questions of, man, what if I did this in the rest of my career, whatever it is.
Speaking of people that have stayed around a super long time, happy
Ireland?
birthday
Oh,
to
no.
Keenan Thompson, who turns 45 today.
Hey!
He's been on SNL, I think, longer
Since
than anyone
I was
ever.
a kid.
He's been on,
Yep.
I think he's the longest
I remember
tenured cast
growing
member.
up watching Keenan Thompson on Saturday Night Live. He is so good. Hosts every
He's
game
terrific.
show sketch they have. He's always like the
terrific.
game. He's so good.
Yeah,
the mayor of TV.
He's not the best cast member ever. That's Eddie Murphy or Will Ferrell, depending on what you like. But he is the guy that has been consistently good for the
and the
longest.
longest running. I think
Oh,
he's
yeah.
been on Saturday Night Live longer than and Ireland will know the answer. That's
He
longer
has
than
been.
anybody.
He might take over after
anyone
Lauren.
ever.
Yeah. Is there anybody even close?
Yeah.
Daryl
Daryl
Hammond.
Hammond was on for about 15 years, but Keenan's been on there 20.
He didn't have the impact that Keenan is.
No,
like
although
still in
Daryl
every
Hammond had
sketch.
some great impressions.
And you guys know that Daryl's still on the show. You know how?
Is he right?
He introduces the names.
There you go, Emily.
Oh, nice.
He replaced, was it Don Pardo that was the voice of
Yeah,
SNL?
Don Pardo. Wow.
He was the voice of every game show,
Yes,
too.
he
Don
was.
Pardo
Yes, he was.
He also was Trump before Alec Baldwin was.
Correct.
So
He did play
back
Trump.
before
Yeah.
The guy
Trump
that
was a
does
candidate.
Trump now on SNL.
That guy is crazy good. I
He's
mean, he's like got
fantastic.
it nailed.
Yeah, it's James Austin Johnson.
Yeah,
He's
he's
terrific.
really good.
Let's do a little Supercross talk.
ESPN AM 710 Los Angeles. KRDC AM 1110 Pasadena, Los Angeles.
K256CX 99.1 FM, Pasadena, Los Angeles.
It's the greatest segment in LA sports radio history.
Oh my God. When the shows come together for magic on the radio.
It will only grow stronger. Super Crosstalk.
Are we ready for Mason and Ireland to join Travis and Slee?
Super Crosstalk begins. Super Crosstalk presented by In-N-Out Burger. In-N-Out. That's what a hamburger is all about.
It's time for Super Crosstalk.
So, Ireland, do you have all that SNL trivia off the top of your head, or are you
I
like
do.
a historian of this?
He's an
thing, or
SNL
what?
guy.
Yeah, it's my favorite show of all time. It started when I was in high school, so I think I've watched it every single year that it's been on, good and bad.
Have you watched it this year?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they're
Everywhere.
shut down now for the
I
writer's
know.
strike. Oh, I think it's been great. I think the guy that Ireland's talking about, who does
He's
the
funny.
Trump impression, is really, really funny.
There are too many cast members right now.
There are a lot, but they're starting to like some of these cast members are starting to pop. I think a little bit.
Yeah, but you need to find them before you have the field of 30 people that
Yeah,
show
but
up
you know,
on
we've,
opening night.
as Ireland knows, we've gone through this with Saturday Night Live. We went through dark ages with Saturday Night Live where it just didn't work for whatever reason. I even watched during those periods because somebody ultimately is
always
going to pop.
kind of stands out.
It's a weird animal, you guys. There have been ridiculously talented comedians who've actually been cast members on Saturday Night Live and got buried.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah, she's the one you think of.
Yeah.
Jay Moore did it.
Jay
a year.
Moore, yeah.
Couldn't get on the air.
Jenny Slate.
Right.
Jenny Slate. That's a good name, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of these people have, and so the hardest thing is, and Jim Carrey auditioned twice, got turned down. You know, so it's a hard nut to crack, but once you get in there, like what they did this year was they did a reset. They let go of a bunch. Kate McKinnon was the biggest loss because she was a huge innings eater. They've kind of replaced her
Cecily
with
Strong was a
She's
big
right.
loss.
80.
I think Cecily Strong's fantastic.
She's great.
Now
So
she's
Heidi
doing-
Gardner's the new Kate McKinnon. She's in almost every skit now.
She's good.
They've got a couple. James
Emma, no,
I don't know that one.
Ego Wodum.
Ega Wodum. She's very funny.
Yeah, she's good too.
Do they
My
still
favorite
kill it
Egos.
ratings-wise?
Yeah, well, everything's down ratings wise, but the more people watch SNL now on
Stream.
and like that you can go watch
individual sketches.
Yeah, you can go watch individual sketches on their website now more than ever before. The best Ego Wodum sketch is, did you ever see Mace the time that she was playing Dionne Warwick?
As a talk show.
As if Dionne Warwick had her own talk show.
And then Dionne Warwick went on the show.
Yeah.
Right. So the first 5 guests, the guests would come out and she'd say, okay, I'm here with Burt Reynolds. Bert, what is wrong with you? And then the next person comes out and it would be like Carl Sagan. Why don't you believe in the afterlife?
Yeah,
what is wrong with you? And then Dionne Warwick comes out and she goes, I only have one question. Why are you so fabulous?
Yeah, she also does Lisa from Temecula, which is like the sketch right now where the table gets all shaky and it's very fun. No, I think it's better than you think it is now.
I'm a fan of the show. Like I don't know it as well as John does, but I do watch it almost every week. But I did not think this was.
I've
good
talked to
season.
Trav, it hangs on the guest host.
Yeah,
it does.
If the guest host is good, the show is good. By the way, the dream guest host, he's done it 5 times. And you'd be shocked at how good all 5 of these episodes are. Justin Timberlake.
Oh, he's great.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah.
You know what? In the box.
The box.
Yeah, the box is very
he's
famous.
really good every time he goes.
When he does the one where he's dressed up as the hot dog or the sandwich and he's handing out flyers on the street.
I've interviewed on the Culture Pop podcast, I've interviewed so many cast members and former SNL writers, and, they say that week is just, first of all, it's 24 hours a day for all intents and purposes.
Right.
It was for a long time, especially those guys in the 70s, drug fueled. Yeah. And on top, and it's just a cutthroat. There are
either
always
my sketch
people
gets
who
on or
say
yours. Right?
my sketch shouldn't have been cut.
Right.
My sketch was better. It's very
Trav,
competitive.
do you know the rehearsal live show dynamic?
I know that they do the dress several hours before the actual show.
Only 2 hours before.
Yeah,
So
and if
when
it
you
doesn't
go,
hit, they cut things out of it, right?
Right.
Yep.
When you go, you have the choice. Mason and I have been incredibly lucky. Mason has a friend from his days of theater ownership named Jeff Blake, who was an executive at Sony.
President of Motion Picture Distribution at Sony.
And Jeff still
Give him a
listens to the
shout
show. Sent us an email yesterday on when we were talking about something. But Jeff's son, Jeffrey, Jeff has a son. Mason and I are both named after our dads. So when Mason was a little kid, he was Stevie. I was Johnny. Jeff Blake is Jeffrey, but we all just call him Jeff. Is a talent exec on SNL now. So he's gotten us all in to see it. I've seen it twice live. Mason's seen it. Lisa's seen it.
It's so good.
It is, Chev, once you see it, you're hooked forever because you don't realize they're working without a net. They're the stage manager's yelling, 30 seconds.
And they're like grabbing people by the shoulder and pulling them onto the set.
Kate McKinnon's in a bra and she's changing costumes.
Yeah, right. I mean,
there's nothing erotic about it, by the way. She's like running around naked in her lingerie, but you're just wondering, is she going to make this?
Yeah,
like,
I know. Are you going to make this
chaos?
Changing costumes, changing makeup. I mean, it's unbelievable to watch.
And then they yell 10 seconds, and you're like, okay, no way. This is going to bomb. No one's ready.
Yeah.
And then the guy goes, 5 seconds.
Yeah, they have that in the cold open where the guy yells the 5 seconds thing.
And then it starts, and they just nail it every
Organized
time.
chaos.
So who is the for
it's
me,
like the Golden State offense,
right?
Controlled chaos.
Yeah,
for
very
me,
much so.
the guy that he wasn't there very long, but the batting average was just through the roof, and he hasn't been on the show for 40 years.
Yeah,
was Eddie Murphy.
Oh, Eddie
whether
Murphy.
it was
probably the biggest star ever to come out of the cast.
Yeah, well, because he had Buckwheat, he had Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood, he had Celebrity Hot Tub, like every single thing he did.
Gumby
was unbelievable.
Gumby, damn it!
Have you ever seen when he does Stevie Wonder and Joe Piscopo does Sinatra?
It's incredible.
It's
and
amazing.
they sing at a piano. You are black and I am white. You are blind as a bat and I have sight. It's the greatest.
So if we take him off the board, who's the best? Like, just not the best, your personal favorite, because there's Chris Farley.
It's Will Ferrell.
Yeah, Will Ferrell is
Will
just.
Ferrell.
Can I throw a sneaky one in there? And
Sure.
again, was there a long time, but just the batting average was through the roof.
Yep.
Was Bill Hader.
Oh, Bill Hader's so good.
Bill Hader's voices, his impressions, the one where he does with the puppet that smokes.
Yes.
Stefan.
Stefan, there you go. That's a really good. He did that on Weekend Update. Stefan was such a hands over his mouth. Yeah.
The hottest club is.
Yeah. By the way, is anybody watching Barry? Am I the only one that's watching Barry on
tapped out
HBO?
on Barry
Oh,
last
it's
season.
so good. It's turned into Breaking Bad. It's turned into this weird variation, sort of a very funny, dark version of Breaking Bad. It's really, really good. Nobody, huh? Ireland,
I watch Barry.
I have not seen it.
No, I haven't seen Barry.
Do you like Barry, Em?
So I liked the first 2 seasons a lot.
Yes,
And
me too.
I think the last 2 seasons are very much Bill Hader's auteur masterclass.
He's directing them all, yeah.
Yeah, so I think his vision is very clear. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the vision all the time, but I think it's still a worthwhile show.
But he's
to
a
watch.
Walter White kind of character.
Yes, and it's way darker.
NoHo Hank is still there.
NoHo Hank's
Anthony
pretty great.
Kerrigan, one of the funniest
He's-
character actors on TV.
He's
Yeah.
amazing. When they had the episode where the little girl karate
Oh my
master-
God, the little girl karate master episode with him and Stephen Root in the car, and she's like jumping all over. Oh, such a great episode.
The motorcycle episode?
So bizarre.
That motorcycle episode is incredible.
I think
too.
this kind of goes back to one of the things I think it was Brian Kamenetsky said about me that I lack whimsy. That was one of those. Yeah, I'm out at this point. It was interesting, but I'm like, this show doesn't make any more sense to me anymore.
The whimsy, I think, is gone. It's just dark now. It's dark.
It's not completely dark. It's just whimsy-less.
Yeah, it's
Is that a
whimsy
thing?
free.
We were talking earlier today. Emily, you might remember how we got on like little kids superstitions that
Factor
we had.
cap.
Oh yeah,
right. So that if you ate your gum as a kid, it would stay in your stomach
Sure,
for 30 years. That
sure.
you're going to get swallowed up by quicksand.
Yes.
If you went wandering through Did you have any of those?
My mom's big one was, if you eat, you can't go in the pool for 30
that was
minutes.
exactly
We
mine.
got
You have
tweets
to
on
wait
that. We got
30
tweets on
minutes
that.
before you go in
Because
the
you'd
pool.
get a cramp and drown.
Yeah,
right?
it never made any sense. I always thought this is made up mom rule. But
I waited a half hour. I'm
yeah,
like, well, you know,
when I was a
you
little
gotta-
kid, I had no choice. My mom was like, "No, you sit on this towel until 30 minutes is up, and then you can go back in the pool." Yeah, that was mine.
All right, another one which is somewhat related to what we're talking about, not necessarily as a kid, but I hope everybody knows that when they tell you you can't use your cell phone on a plane because you could mess up the navigation, no, you can't. You cannot mess up the navigation on a 767 by using something you bought at radio.
Although, please put it in airplane mode. Does
Well, that's
anybody
just-
actually do it?
Yeah, I do it just to save the battery.
Yeah,
if you don't,
I don't.
You'll land and it'll be at zero.
Well, John, I know you're a West Wing fan like I am. There's a scene where Toby talks to the stewardess about, I can't scramble the signals of this. This is a White House protected airplane that you're not bringing it down with a phone that costs $80.
Like one of the most exciting moments on a flight is when you are getting ready to land. You shouldn't even be saying this. You're getting ready to land, and finally you get bars again,
okay.
and you're like, "Oh, I'm texting. I'm checking my email from before. Oh, I'm in airplane mode. No, I'm actually just texting away."
God forbid we're out of touch with the rest of humanity for more than an hour.
Yeah,
you need to
yeah,
get
exactly.
Your messages
Trav,
back.
you should give John your National Golf Day perfect golf.
Did you know that today is National Golf Day, Ireland?
Yeah, but we all have to work.
That's exactly what I said. Like why it's on a Wednesday doesn't make any sense. But give me your location and the other three people in your foursome on your dream golf day.
I would go Augusta, and I would go with the guys I play with on Sundays. I'd get which one of them is Worthy, and then two other guys, Tim and Patrick. That's who I would do it with.
You know, when I played.
That sounded like
one-
your swing. There wasn't
the
any
one time you
contact.
Yeah, no, you know what? You know how I got my swing right? Jorge, you ready? Angelina Jolie. That
no
was the
contact. It's a swing and a
proper.
miss.
No, that was the proper.
Play it again, Jorge. There's no contact. This is Mason's swing.
Yeah, no. I think there's a. No, I think
It
I'm in the middle of the fairway.
I'm hitting grass.
Yeah.
That's what that sounds like. I just hit grass. I didn't
John,
hit
there's no
anything else.
contact in that. I'm not losing my mind, right?
Well, then that is Mason's swing.
Yeah,
what
that
I'm
is my
saying.
swing. As a matter of fact,
My swing
what I'm
too.
saying.
no, although
worry about that.
you know, this is like pickleball. I got like not totally embarrassingly bad played, and John, I wasn't good by any stretch.
You
of
were
the
respectfully
imagination.
mediocre.
but I was mediocre. It's
Yeah.
good. I'm mediocre.
Your best round is in front of you, shall we say?
Yeah,
It's definitely
exactly.
in front of me. It is definitely somewhere
So
in the
when we
distance.
played, I gave Mason 30 strokes for 9 holes,
Yeah.
and he hung in till the 8th hole.
Yeah.
Did
So
you
that
hit
was
it in
pretty
a bunker
good.
or something you couldn't get out, something like that?
No, but
No, the 8th hole was the one. It had it was a par 3 Trav that had a big carry, even from the front tees.
I'm
and he,
screwed
he
on
couldn't
carry.
make the carry.
I don't have the distance for those big carries.
He had to carry like 205 to get to the green, and he couldn't do
Like,
it.
yeah,
All right,
205.
Ireland, give me 90 seconds or so on what the vibe is in San Francisco from Warrior people. Are they nervous? Do they know that this thing is
Over?
on the precipice, or
so,
what's going on?
So here's the weird thing. I realize the two things I'm about to say are completely conflicting opinions. Okay. But there's two things I'm having trouble believing. The first one is Mason thinks this series is over.
It is over.
So does Michael.
Yeah,
I agree.
So does Al.
Yeah, I agree.
I could not be less confident. I mean, they're the Warriors.
But they've only climbed out of a 3-1 hole as one time.
Right.
John, they're also not playing like the Warriors.
Right. But so on one hand, I've got that going. That there is no way, everybody says there's no way the Lakers can lose this series. Sure there is. They lose 3 games, it's over. But the other thing is, having said that, no one, I'm assuming, Mace, you're in this boat too, no one's given the Lakers a chance tonight. I am.
I think they're going to win tonight.
I think they can win tonight.
I think they can either win close or get blown out. I think it's A or B.
If it plays, by the way, to kind of simplify this, if it plays out like it has so far, where the Lakers are great on defense, that they got some other player that steps up, that a lot lot of these Warrior players.
Who's tonight's Lonnie Walker?
Probably not Lonnie Walker.
No, it's not. I don't think it's not. You think it's D'Lo?
D'Lo. Reeves.
I think it's Austin Reeves.
It could go back to one of these same guys that have been there a couple different times.
There's something weird in the universe, John, if you and I are on the same page when it comes to the Lakers.
It's not a good sign.
That doesn't happen very often.
I was thinking about you this week, Trav. Would you? And be honest. I'm not trying to throw you under a bus here or anything. Would you still get out of the LeBron business at the end of the year? You've been saying that for 2 years.
No, I wouldn't. Because and here's why. It has nothing to do with LeBron.
Star effing driven.
Right. It has everything to do with Anthony Davis seems to have become Anthony Davis again.
Right.
And that role reversal that we were hope was going to happen last year or the year before is finally
So are you now ready to say I was wrong?
Oh, never. What do you think?
You'll never say. Like I wanted to trade Anthony Davis when they were 2-10. I was wrong.
Yeah, no, I don't think I can form that sentence.
Yeah,
but
I was.
I want LeBron around because AD can be the best player on the team, and we're seeing how that looks when LeBron is not that.
Yeah,
and it looks pretty damn good.
Yeah,
yeah. I don't think the town would put up with a rebuild. And I know you want to rebuild.
Well, we did 6 years of it, and the town was not happy.
But they don't need to rebuild right now.
Yeah.
They got a good squad.
Right.
They got a good
So
squad.
you were wrong.
About what?
About the whole get out of the LeBron business.
Super Crosstalks powered by In-N-Out Burger. That's what a hamburger is all about, and we will see